This is Best Ball Whenever. I'm your host, Neil Orfield, host of this channel. And of course, here with my co-host from the Outside the Box series in the fall. We did a DFS show every week, which was probably my favorite show to do every week. Was always a really good time picking Scott's brain about how he was thinking about a DFS slate. But of course, also happy to have Scott here to talk some best ball, because Scott is he's a maniac. As I said in the tweet introducing this show, Scott is an absolute maniac with the amount of research that he does for us. The amount of work that he puts into every piece of content he does is just incredible, including not most recently, he's done more ever since, requiring even more research, but fairly recently, Scott did a series, I think a 45-minute YouTube show where he went over all of the coach speak about all of the important fantasy rookies. Really, really good piece. You should check that out on the Fantasy Points channel, but not yet. You should first listen to us as we do a draft here. Scott, really happy to be chatting with you again. Of course, we talk pretty regularly, but first time doing a show in a couple weeks at least. Few weeks, I think. Scott, how are you doing
Months?
tonight?
I think it was months. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. A nice little reunion for Outside the Box. I was talking to you about this like 2 days ago. I don't know. I just know like every week we gain more and more viewers, and we're like, oh, we gained 2,000 viewers. That's so cool. Were we like the biggest DFS show? I think, but because I looked at our numbers week 15, 16, 17, and then I looked at like all the top DFS shows I know of, and it looked like we crushed them all.
We did do quite well. Yeah, I don't think it was week to week consistent, but yeah, we were definitely getting quite a lot of views on our show. I know I looked at every week at, back at the time I was at Stochastic, I looked at the number of subscribers we would add every show to the Stochastic YouTube channel, and that was just like crushing it from that perspective as well. Yeah, it was a pretty popular show. I of course love doing it. I know we had a good time. It seemed like the audience had a good time as well. So hopefully we'll run it back this year. I'm planning on running it back. I think you are as well. We have to figure out exactly where it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but obviously we would like to do that show again. I got to point out one of our comments first. I want to mention all the comments, but Cubs pitcher Justin Steele, who just 7 innings, 8 strikeouts today, absolutely crushed. Of course, the Cubs did not get the win because they didn't score any runs for him, but fun to see Justin in the chat after a big game today. Really love seeing Justin in the chat. That is awesome.
I was a diehard Mets fan for years. I started in the industry as a baseball writer. First ever article I wrote was on Masahiro. Oh, no, it was actually on R.A. Dickey. I half jokingly said he was going to win the Cy Young the year he won the Cy Young. And I was like, oh, this is easy. I should keep doing this. But I was at the World Series game where the Mets lost to the Royals. Matt Harvey refused to come off the field. And then like in that moment, my fandom died. And now my favorite pitchers of all time are Justin Steele, or favorite players of all time, Justin Steele and Steven Matz, who follows me on Twitter. And I was at his first ever start. So that's all I know about baseball. Those two guys rock.
Yeah, Justin Steele, I mean, probably the athlete that I cheer for the most at this point. Of course, there's Ant, so it's really hard to compete with Ant, but Justin, just the nicest guy in the world. And of course, a major DFS player playing NBA DFS. Even now, when it's down to showdown, when I'm not playing most nights, Justin is still crushing his Cubs teammates. So yeah, good luck to Justin tonight. I'm sure he has a lineup tonight. I didn't play any NBA DFS tonight. R.A. Dickey, though, you mentioned R.A. Dickey. He's the one who like came up with a curveball or something, like some new pitch. Like,
dude, he was awesome. Yeah, so he was like this phenom pitcher who was like supposed to be a superstar, but he like struggled in the minors. And like, why do you suck? You used to be so awesome. And he found out he was missing a ligament in his arm. And so he just I think he retired from baseball for a while. And then he like learned the art of the knuckleball. And then in his late 30s, he made a comeback, and he just like randomly had this insane Cy Young season. And then he like continued to help the Mets because they traded him away, and he got like a bunch of studs in that deal. So R.A. Dickey, all-time legend. Big fan.
I always love those when it's like a player who's been around a while, it's a veteran player, and then just suddenly Jose Bautista is one that I remember. I probably love it because I have fantasy baseball. There were fantasy baseball implications for me, like picking up Jose Bautista and then crushing for me the rest of the year. But in general, I love seeing those stories of guys who just like reinvent themselves when they are a little bit older. That's always really cool.
R.A. Dickey, Bartolo Colon, Mo Vaughn, probably 3 favorite Mets of all time.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really have favorite Mets. Never been a team that I've cheered for, but it seems like a good trio.
Well, you're lucky. Yeah. Why do people cheer for them? They're just terrible and break your heart.
I mean, if you live in New York, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Benny Tingman says, outside the box, best NFL DFS show on the tube last year. Hope you bring it back. Yeah, we are hopeful that we will be able to bring it back. Good to see Tyler Bindles in chat, of course, two regulars here. Brett Whitefield, who, of course, I mention all the time as the guy who does the tracking or leads the tracking team, I think, for the data suite, the charting for the Fantasy Points data suite, which I think is just such an awesome feature. I mention all the time, and I guess now is a good time to note, look above me, you can use promo code flannel for 15% off any Fantasy Points product.
You can even spell it wrong.
You can't even, and of course, we have had two sales, Scott pointed out to me, one of them spelled it wrong. So I appreciate you for giving me all of those flannel adjacent names for the sales of the Fantasy Points product. But yeah, I mean, I obviously love the data suite. I cite that all the time, but you have a lot of different things that people should check out at Fantasy Points. You just said that you just released your articles on Friday about strength of schedule. Are those in front of or behind the paywall?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think no paywall on these, although it probably would have been better to paywall them. Yeah. So every year I do this series on strength of schedule. I just think my methodology is like better than what anyone else is doing, unless of course you're, building out projections for all teams like a Mike Clay is doing. But anyway, I kind of was open and honest in the article where I'm like, this is just a micro edge. But what's like interesting about this is like the best, like high stakes and best ball players I know love this series. Like Aaron H. I don't know if you know who that is. Like he dates all the way back to the early MFL days, but he's the best ball GOAT. Like the guy, no one plays more volume than him. And he returns like a 50% win rate every single year. He just doesn't do tournament style best ball. He's a big fan of this series. Abib, who won the Football Guys Players Championship in back-to-back years, which is like so impossible. He's a big fan. So it's like the sharpest players I know is saying like, no, there's an edge here. And so yeah, to me, like what's most impactful to me is just looking at the playoff schedule. And we've talked about this, like you had a guest on, I think you put it perfectly, but I've always said, I think week 17, like, I don't know that it's overrated, but it's just like, it's certainly not all that matters. To me, like, I think it's more valuable to look at the entirety of the playoff weeks in totality rather than just week one. I mean, you saw that last year. It's like, if you didn't have Amari Cooper and Breece Hall, who went nuclear week 16, you didn't have a shot week 17. And so, yeah, I think there might be some edge there. Maybe the way I see it is like 80% of the field has no idea what they're doing. 19% is like all in on week 17. And then 1% is like, well, like, what about all 3 weeks? Or what about the first 2 weeks? What about, and so like, I kind of like that, there's less competition in that space. Intuitively, it seems like there's an edge there, but I'll be honest, I haven't done too much basketball research, but that's kind of been my thing so far.
I've done a ton of best ball, research in the sense that I consume a lot of content and draft a ton. So I've done a lot of research and of course I've read things that other people have written. Of course, I have recently listened to your rookie podcast. But I feel like, we can talk about the rookies, what you found, what you learned from your interviews, all the research that you have done as we do our drafts. That'll be a good time. And like I said, it's a micro edge, but like, that's all we're doing, right? It's just stacking micro edges. So anytime we can find these little micro edges, there aren't that many. I mean, there are some macro edges, but I think we mostly know them. So now at this point, I think most of us are like fighting for those little micro edges. So go check out Scott's latest article, which it sounds like is in front of the paywall. But if it isn't, then it's probably worth paying. All right.
There's like PDF downloads and CSV downloads. So you could play around with all the data yourself if you want. If you only care about week 17, you could just sort by that. But I just wanted to talk about best ball a little bit. I did a big like Underdog best ball Bible article that was, I don't know, 1 billion words like 2 or 3 years ago. And I think it's still actionable. Like I really should just update that, but it kind of Graham Barfield's been the one to take over the best ball product for the site, and he's done a really good job with it. So really just read that. But kind of what I argued in that piece and still believe is that like best ball is super easy. It's so easy. It's if you're not playing the tournament style leagues, like you are guaranteed to profit. You are instead of winning 1 out of 12, you should be winning like 1 out of 8, 1 out of 9. It's really just, don't be stupid with the positions you're picking. Know when to pick and where. And it's like, if you take one quarterback early, don't take another one early. You don't need to take them later. And it's conditional drafting along those lines, and just the optimal number of positions or players at each position, et cetera. And so like, with tournament style, like, yeah, that's way more difficult, but also it's just like such a total crapshoot because you have to beat 1 out of 700,000 teams. Like the most important thing is you need to get lucky. To me, like I think the most important thing is drafting power law players. Obviously you need power law players in the bonus rounds, but who are the players most likely to give you those? It's the players who are power law players over the full season. And what was I going to say? I was going to say, I don't know, something else.
Can you, for those who have not read your piece on power law players, and I don't have the link handy, I've posted it before, the link to your big article or whatever you want to call it, about power law players. I don't have it handy, but can you give just a little bit of a synopsis of what you mean by that?
Yeah. Check out Upside Wins Championships. I think it's like my favorite article that I've written, where it just talks about how in the game of fantasy football, upside is far more valuable than downside is detrimental. That's especially true in start sit, where you have like the floor, the waiver wire to fall back on, but it's also even more especially true of a tournament style format where you need to finish first out of 700,000 teams. So like chase upside, swing for the fences. There's no difference in this format between finishing second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way down to 12th. You want to finish first. I remember what I was going to say though, which was, oh crap, did I lose? I'm not even drunk. Maybe why am I freezing? Oh, okay. Yeah, here it is. So, how I'm going to play best ball this year is like, I might just like wait until early September. Like, I think that's where the macro is. Like, I don't know that right now I have the time to draft 150 teams. So I think like what's smartest for me is to draft 30 teams, 40 teams, 50 teams. Like if you're drafting 150, you should really spread out your ownership. That just makes so much, really cover yourself for injuries, which you can't control. But like, I like the idea of just early September, just 30 teams, 40 teams, 50 teams, not spreading out ownership, just drafting my guys and hammering that. And like, I think that's where the edge is, because that's when we have the most information. And so like me drafting early September has like a way bigger edge on you. The counter argument to that, I guess, would be like, well, remember the Tyreek Hill year where people thought he was going to get suspended, and he was like a round 9 pick, maybe round 12 even at times.
No,
and then
it's
like no suspension. And then he was back to round 1. And it's like, well, it's over. There's no chance that a round 1 Tyreek team is going to beat out a round 9 team. I think it did end up happening, but yeah, that's all I could see right now. But when I looked at ADP, I didn't see any extreme values like that, players who could just catapult multiple rounds.
I mean, Rashee Rice would be like the closest example we have, just because he's down now to, I think, the 8th round.
It's a good one.
And he, like, obviously if he doesn't get suspended, he had been a 3rd round or like early 3rd round player prior to all of his legal issues. So yeah, I guess.
But I'm just thinking back to last year. Like, I drafted so much Darren Waller. I drafted so much Christian Watson. And we found out like a week before the season started, 2 weeks before the season started, he had hamstring injuries. I never would have been taking them had I known that. Yeah. Or Cooper Kupp is going to miss all these games, and it's like a really serious. And there's San Francisco, Jeff Wilson's surprise on IR. And so like, that would be my advice to you, Neil.
Miami last year.
Yeah. Sorry. And the listeners at home is to keep some bullets in the chamber for for early September.
The problem for me specifically is that I have told everybody that I'm going to be streaming all 150 of my Best Ball Mania
Oh
drafts,
boy.
so I can't save them all for September. But I do think that that is good advice for everybody else, and I'll probably try and not get all of them done in June. I'll probably try and save some because I definitely found my advance rates were better last year with the lineups that I drafted closer to the season. Also, I think that I have bigger edge there because I also like I'm consuming so much content. Like if you're just on top of things, I think in general you're going to have more knowledge close to the season start, and you're going to be drafting with more casual players also. Because like right now, everybody who's drafting is kind of a sicko. They're all listening to all
That's
the
right.
different best ball content out
The
there.
fish come out to swim in August.
Yeah.
My buddy Aaron H, who I was talking about, who has like the biggest sample size of anyone ever when it comes to best ball. Like he broke it down by month, and it's just like 40% win rate, 40%, 40%, 40%, and then August it's like 70%.
No way.
It's like,
okay.
and I don't know how it is an Underdog anymore, but like you saw this back in the MFL days too, where it's like ADP is so airtight in May, and then September you get like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow going round one. It's like
right.
Softer competition.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's definitely good advice to save those bullets. Don't do all your drafts now. With that said, you guys should draft with us right now because we're about to start a draft on Underdog, and you should at least just do this draft with us because it'll be fun. Are we ready to get going, Scott? Should we jump into a draft?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to throw that up here, and we're going to jump into a draft. Get in now. Let's see. Am I okay? I think it is sized right. Yeah, it looks right. So if you guys want to get in here with us, jump on.
This is I think this is my
spots.
first best ball draft, or did we do one already? Second?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Second.
you say that this is our first time in months, but I'm like, you've already been on this channel. So maybe it was a couple months ago. That might be right.
Yeah, well, I've been on once, so this is my second best ball draft of the year right now.
Yeah. Did we do Best Ball Mania? Now I'm trying to remember what I had you on the channel for before.
Yeah, Best Ball Mania wasn't out yet. It was something else.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we did one of the big board drafts, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, did you tweet this out? I'll retweet it.
I did. I tweeted out that we were going to go live 15 minutes ago.
All right. Well, I'll tweet out that we went live.
We got 2 more spots left in this draft, so if you want to get in, now's the time.
I mean, you're just seeding edges, Neil, because now you're getting your guys in here
I know
people who know me too. So sharp competition who probably know who you like, gonna snipe you.
Let me tell you, it is not good for my ROI that I'm doing all 150 of these drafts. But gotta do something to keep myself motivated to keep on doing streams. That's a big part of it for me. It was just like I was like, I'm not doing enough content. I want to be doing more content. I need to force myself, light a fire under my own ass. And the easiest way for me to do that was, hey, I'm going to stream all 150, so I better get started.
Well, what about DraftKings? Are you drafting on DraftKings or draft?
I am doing DraftKings drafts on my own. I haven't been doing those on stream yet, but I've been doing some of those. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, you'll have your edge there then.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of familiar names here. TM Longacre, who now I'm trying to remember. He's in chat, I'm sure, but he's drafts with us regularly. Good to see you, KZ Brown. Good to see KZ in here. Humble Legend is somebody who does a lot of drafts. I'm pretty sure frequently likes to snipe our picks. Actually, somebody told me that Humble Legend just is kind of unpredictable. Is actually their thing. Just you can't really predict what they're going to do. But have done several drafts with Humble Legend. Circle the Drain, of course, I know. A lot of familiar. Anybody else in here drafting with us? I frequently forget people's names. But
is
we got
that a knock? Calling someone unpredictable? Does that mean they don't know what they're doing? Like in poker, if you're unpredictable, that's a good thing. But in best ball, I don't know.
It's not necessarily a knock. I would say I haven't looked closely at their teams after they're done. I think of them as being they don't really correlate. But I don't know that it's necessarily a knock. And I also don't have a large. I know that I've done a few drafts with Humble Legend. I think that it's the person that somebody said is unpredictable. They just I think what they said is they do what they want to do. So that's all I really know.
I like that. That's kind of the strategy I would endorse.
Yeah, it was It happened, I think, after they had just sniped me on like my quarterback. I had the stack all lined up, and they took somebody else, so it was annoying at the time. So I have a negative association, but I don't hold a grudge there. I don't really know who they
The
are.
level of confidence on some of these strategies is astounding for a game where you need to finish in the top 0.00007%. Outside of like you like don't draft 4 quarterbacks or 5 quarterbacks. That's dumb. But
I don't. I think they actually cap you at 4 now. That's like a new
okay.
thing this year, which I don't like that they have that cap now. Because I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, if you want to draft 5, 6 quarterbacks, you go ahead. They're kind of saving people from themselves.
Well, maybe theoretically, two people could work together as a team where it's like you draft 2 quarterbacks early, the other guy starts hoarding quarterbacks, and then 2 other
That's true.
teams are dead because they missed out.
That's a good point. That's another way to potentially collude. I'm going to sort by ADP because I know that's a new thing
Oh,
this year. I know that you're a big. You wanted me to do ADP last year, and you couldn't toggle back and forth, so it was like a
oh,
little
it
bit
was driving me
difficult.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now you can just draft by ADP. You can see who you want to draft.
love it.
So on the turn here, we're usually going to be choosing between. Usually Puka's going to be gone. Brown's probably going to be gone. So we'll usually be deciding between like Garrett Wilson, Jameer Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London. I don't know. We can see who's left for us here.
Yeah, this is kind of not a great spot to be. I'll
It
be
is
honest.
not. It is not the best. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is TM Longacre. Good to see you, Mister Mister. All right. Coming up,
Puka and JT would be nice.
we'll see if Circle the Drain allows it. Okay, so he goes Puka. So without Puka there, I was going to say it'd be nice to get Puka and Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Week 17 correlation, just because it's kind of rare. But maybe we'll leave
Oh,
him.
nice.
But he took Puka. So who do
Oh,
you want to
damn.
go JT and then a different receiver?
Yeah, let's no JT and Marv. That sounds good.
Oh, we're gonna snipe him on his Week 17.
Yeah, screw him.
Apologies to Circle the Drain.
No,
I don't think I've ever
screw
actually
that.
met him in person. He is a long time. I think he's a DFS pro, or at least a long time, very good DFS player. I believe we were actually at a live final together. I think, but I never actually met Circle the Drain. Or I got super drunk and don't remember it. That's also a possibility because it's open bar at these things.
Hey, yeah, that sounds nice. Got to get there this year.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't usually try for live finals, but it's always an amazing time. The trick is to get invited.
Right, right.
Of course, you got invited last year, along with a lot of people. A lot of people don't know that I went with Hishbu last year to the live final, and then he invited Scott, but it was at a time when Scott was not able to go. So sadly, we did
Yeah, I
not get to
turned it
hang out in
down and
person.
then won
Yeah,
the red zone instead.
that's right. Oh, that was that weekend. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I think about that. I'm like, I wonder if I like could have put a bug in Hishbu's ear and he would have won like $5 million.
Yeah, it's possible. Probably not because I don't like.
He's
I
very
imagine he's running his like advanced systems to figure it out. He's
right,
not like
right.
he's not a no ball guy. I think he does no ball also, but I don't think that's like a big part of his process. So I don't think he's really swayed by what people are saying anyway.
I would love to look at his sims or his projection system. I
Yeah,
think that's so cool.
yeah. No, he's definitely elite.
You got to get Chris on. We're retooling the fantasy points projections, and they are so sick.
I mean,
Just
I'd,
so
I'd love
like
to have Chris on. Yeah, I always love talking to Chris.
so in depth. I got some spoilers for you on who like Chris's projections absolute must draft are.
Are you going to tell me
Quarterback.
tonight? Let's hear
Yeah,
it.
should I wait until they're picked?
No, I mean we're no, I don't think enough people. I mean, we might get sniped on it, but I'm okay with it. I'd rather talk about it and give up that edge for this
Okay.
draft than
You're so selfless, Neil.
I am. I'm a super selfless guy. That's what it comes down to. I stream for the people. I bring Scott Barrett on to get all these nuggets for the people. It's all for everybody else. Nothing selfish about it. Yeah. Who does Chris like?
So quarterback is Jaden Daniels. I completely agree with it. And he has him QB6 in the projections. And he is like, I've tried to poke as many holes in this as I can. I tried to bump him down, be as conservative as possible. And it's just not, he's the QB6. And I'm like, it makes sense to me. Cliff Kingsbury's no pace, up tempo, pass heavy, historical offenses yield a lot of dropbacks. I think he's good. I think this guy's good. He runs, and you don't really need too much more than that. So he's definitely going to be one of, like, he's must draft for me at this price. RB is James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, where it's kind of the same thing, where it's like, I tried to be as conservative as possible, and his projections love James Cook. I'm not really, I don't know, something about James Cook bothers me, but Isaiah Pacheco, I get it. He was an absolute nightmare when McKinnon was out. There's no McKinnon. Great offense to be a workhorse running back in. Tight end was Jake Ferguson, which is just like,
Okay.
Look at available targets. Look at target share. It's like really no one else to get the ball. Nice rapport with Dak Prescott. So I agree with that. I think massive best ball value. Wide receiver, I'm forgetting who stood out, but those are some of the guys right now popping in projections where it's just like you know, when you do projections, they're different than rankings because upside
Right. Yep.
is so important, right? And or like one of my guys is Jonathan Brooks. Like, I think he's one of the best values in all the drafts. Love his upside in the second half of the season. The second half of the season matters more than the first half, especially in this format. You want a lot of points in those bonus round weeks. But because of that, maybe, you know, the projections don't capture that, but with the projections, sometimes you just get undeniable values. And I think all those players I just mentioned, I think Chris is on the money with them.
See, I feel like I already heard, like you're giving a spoiler, and I'm like, did Chris already post? I was just looking to see if he already did a thread on this or something like that. I feel like but it might have been I just heard it through the grapevine in the Fantasy Points Discord or something like that. Heard kind of got a sneak peek of some of these players. You just reminded me. I kind of want to go back. So you started to say, you know, we think that we have. We're also confident in some of our takes, and I think that you said that after I brought up stacking. And I'm not sure if you were talking about stacking, it was just incidental, but are you not sold on stacking in basketball? And part of the reason I also thought of this is because you brought up Jaden Daniels, and he's one that I'm like, well, then should we be reaching for Terry McLaurin to get the best stack? So I was kind of like thinking of stacking. So let's start with the you know, macro point of, are you not a believer in stacking in best ball?
No, obviously there's a massive edge there. You should be stacking. It's the same thing with GPPs. I'm just saying, like, you know, you have to finish first or top whatever out of 750,000 teams, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, would you rather have 150 teams with Puka Nacua or 150 teams with perfect stacking from last year? And it's like probably Puka Nacua gives you the best odds of taking bank. But no, yeah, definitely be stacking. Stacking is super important. But then again, I guess we get a pick here.
We're on the clock. Yeah.
I like Tank Dell. Can you
scroll down?
Click on wide receiver and running back.
All right, so here's the top wide receiver and running back by ADP.
I like Higgins a lot. I like Pacheco. I like Amari. I like Kirk. I like Keenan.
All right, we're going Tank Dell.
I'll give you my pitch on Tank Dell in a little bit. I like all these guys a lot. I don't know that I like.
Let's see. Higgins week 12 bye. I know you're not a bye week bro, but I am a bit of a bye week bro. It at least breaks the tie for me. We can go Higgins.
Let's check strength of schedule if I could pull it up.
All right, I don't think we have time for that for this pick, but we can, you know, obviously adjust. All right, so we got Tank Dell and T Higgins. Right, so we do have 3 wide receivers with different bye weeks.
Yeah, really like that tier right there. Really like all those wide receivers. I'll give you my pitch on Tank Dell in a second, but yeah, I mean, if you look back at the previous winners, like, I see more power law players than I see stacks. I like last year the guy had what, like, it was the CD Lamb plus
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. Which could have been incidental. Those are just like 2 great picks at the tail end of round 1. And like, that was like the only stack. And then Chess Liam, it was like Josh Allen, who was like the top power law quarterback that year. And like Rashad Penny who's like the top power law player in the postseason weeks, and or even the Pat Kareem year, it was like, I don't know, it was Tyquan Thornton. Was that really moving the needle?
Yeah, it's
He had Tom Brady, who was the top scoring quarterback, who no one else in the final round had. But he didn't have the Buccaneers wide receiver who went nuclear. He had, who was it, Evans or Godwin?
he did not have Evans. There
one
was
one of them dropped 40, and he didn't have that guy. He had the wide
that's
receiver
funny.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and
Evans.
so
Evans went way off. I remember that. I did not remember that Pat didn't have him. That's kind of nuts.
no, but I mean, like, the odds are like whoever wins is going to have the quarterback who scored the most points in week 17, because quarterbacks score more points than any other position in half point PPR. And so when you have the highest scoring quarterback and you're the only one to have them, that's a huge edge. But I mean, you just looking at all those teams, there was no like, oh, they had the game that went nuclear. Then again, like, I mean, DeMar Hamlin happened, and like probably one of those Bills Bengals onslaught teams could have surpassed Pat Kareem. But I don't know. I just think like I'm a little more of a nihilist about it, where it's just like 750,000. Like,
yeah,
to me, it's like, again, it's if I could go back in time, it's not to stack week 17 perfectly, week 16, it's gonna be to let me get Puka Nacua on every single team. Oh, Amari Cooper scores 50 points in that one bonus round week. Brees Hall goes nuclear as well. It's gonna be that. And I think that's kind of the way it is. And like, that's what like Aaron H says. And like a lot of like the old school basketball veterans, where it's just like, yeah, in the final 4 rounds, swing for the fences, go and get your guys, because if you hit, that's a massive edge. And like, I've had a good track record on that. Aaron H was all over Hey, like 100% OBJ his rookie year across like 20,000 teams, and the dude won so much money. DJ Chark sophomore season, dude won me a ton of money. Antonio Brown, when he was with the Buccaneers and he was free, ton of money. Amon-Ra St. Brown's rookie year. Last year didn't work out. Justin Ross and some other Kadarius Toney, but other good years. Yeah, I just want to say on Tank Dell, maybe this means absolutely nothing, but CJ Stroud went up against, I think, Micah Parsons, and he was like, all right, you build out your best offense, I'll build out my best defense. And in his best offense, the only Texans player he had was Tank Dell in his like dream offense. And maybe that means nothing, but like Nico Collins, incredible at top 5 in yards per route run, top 10 in first down per route run, like all the key stats. But it's like in games, both of them were healthy. Tank Dell, more fantasy points per game, more yards per game, more targets per game. Most importantly, it was like an 88% route share to a 79% route share. That's something that matters, especially now when you have a more accomplished wide receiver 3 thrown into the mix. So I don't know.
I love it. Love that you're calling Diggs a wide receiver 3. Because that's not where he's going drafted.
Well, I just mean a third wide. He's
okay.
a clear upgrade on Noah Brown, but
yeah. Oh, Noah Brown. I'm surprised to hear you say that, Scott.
I think he's by far the best value. Where did we take him?
We got Dell at like 36.
Wide receiver.
I don't know exactly. Wide receiver.
He's wide receiver 27 by ADP. So that's just what I was going on. I don't know where we took.
Yeah, we got him at 36. He usually, he'll often fall to like the mid 4th round. So we took him a little bit higher than ADP. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. His ADP is 39. I guess we took him at 36. So we didn't reach.
So he's a guy Chris doesn't like, though. He just doesn't think. Yeah, he just doesn't think there's. All right. Well, let's make our pick and then.
Let's make our pick.
This is sort of by ADP, right?
This is sort of by ADP. Yep.
All right. Can you just do a quick quarterback and then running back and then wide receiver and then tight end?
Quarterback is Burrow, but his ADP is not till 77. So that would be a little bit of a reach.
Damn. Okay. I like Burrow, but
I mean, we do have T. Higgins. So if we want him, we could take him now.
I also like Mixon. Oh, I really like Aaron Jones. You tell me what's good value or not. I just kind of know the names.
Well, you can see by ADP what's good value. So we don't have any great like value fallers here. We could reach and just take Pitts. Joe Burrow because he's probably not falling back. I love Pitts. I take him here all the time since you don't have a tight end.
Yeah, let's do it.
you want to go Pitts Mixon, or do you want to get another? I mean, we could take Burrow here. I don't think there's any reason we couldn't do it. It would be a
Well, we
little
have
bit of,
Higgins, right?
we do have Higgins, yeah. So if you like, just getting Burrow out of the way, he's probably not falling back to us.
Yeah. Do I like any late round running backs? Yeah, I think I like a lot of them, and I think that's where the edge has been. And we're talking about, upside wins championships. That's the best way to maximize upside. I think, like I said, the value of getting the highest scoring quarterback in week 17 is massive. And if you can nail a few late round running backs with league winning potential, like that could be game over. And like, I was, you drafted Devon A-Chain, if you drafted Raheem Mostert, if you drafted Zach Moss, if you drafted Kyron Williams, you were smashing, right? So, and hopefully we can get some of those names this year.
So I'm excited to hear who you like at the end of drafts at the running back position, because it gets really ugly for me at the end. There are a few names that I'm like, all right, I can see that. I can see that being a good pick.
Well, I told you Jonathan Brooks was must draft. I think Raheem
he's
Mostert's
like eighth round now to get Jonathan Brooks. So he's like, yeah, he's later than this, but yeah, I guess it depends on what you consider to be late round. Yeah, he's in the middle of what I think is a really long tier of like pretty good running backs. So yeah, from like the middle rounds is where I'm usually attacking running back. So plenty of those.
Yeah, it's also important in the best ball format. Remember that this is the devalued position. So like in a start sit, running back is far and away the most valuable position in fantasy, and that's due to scarcity. It's also like the highest end running backs, like Christian McCaffrey can outscore any wide receiver, but then it's also like the scarcity of that. There's only 32 teams. Each team is starting like a minimum of 2. So there's 24, but some are in the flex. And then so many teams are going the committee approach. So the scarcity increases the value of it, but that's not true in best ball. I always think back to the year where JD McKissick and Nyheim Hines, right? They were just shitty scat backs who did well in games that the teams lost and did nothing in games that the team won because, you're forced to pass, you dump it off to the running back, didn't get a lot of carries. Those two running backs finished 3 years ago as the RB23 and RB24. The outscored, the combined in the best ball format where you only take the higher score each week. Yeah. Those two players combined, condensed into one player, outscored that season's RB3, Aaron Jones. Okay. And so in the best ball form, like I've been more late round running back like last year. That's where the value was. But I've always pushed back on zero RB, except in best ball. In best ball, it makes a ton of sense. And so,
Agreed.
I like the approach of waiting. You don't want to be weak at any position in this format, but I do see a lot of value in late running backs. What I was saying about the Houston wide receivers, by the way, was just that Chris disagrees. He just available targets. He in that offense, it's hard to see any of those guys pay off ADP because they're all going so high and they're all competing for each other for targets. The only thing I'll say is like this might just immediately be like the best offense in football, a top 3 offense in football. People kind of sleep on this point, which is that last year, the Texans had 1 tight end and 4 wide receivers run a route share between 60 and 69%. And like Noah Brown was fucking awesome. Like how many times did I tell you to play Noah Brown? He was healthy only 3 weeks, but he had like 150 yards, 200 yards, and then 80 yards and a touchdown in those 3 weeks. And so, this just might be like the right offense for it. But I like Tank Dell as a value. I kind of get it with the other names, but maybe I'm just reading way too much into CJ Stroud, always hyping him up.
I love that kind of, that's very much a Jake Tribby kind of tidbit where it's just like, this is something I heard and I like it. Like I actually kind of like hearing those little things that it's like, it's really hard to put this into a projection in any sense. But at the same time, if you can think like the quarterback likes him, maybe he is going to get a higher target share than most people are anticipating. And we already like him. Like he's already like being drafted pretty highly. And he projects pretty well, I guess is what I mean. Like any site that's doing projections already, Tank Dell is projecting pretty well. If you can give him a little bit of a higher target share because the quarterback likes him, gives you a little bit more reason to draft him. So I'm I don't love narratives in like DFS in fantasy sports in general. Like I think that a lot of times narratives get overhyped, but also I think they can be useful and like just as a, you know, little cookie here or there to make a point for taking a player or not taking them. So I like that. I like that kind of additional piece of information.
So I love this ADP range. Click on Aaron Jones. I don't care if someone takes him. Great value, tremendous upside here. Like, how many times have people been pounding the table to like free Aaron Jones? And now I think he has that, at least the potential for that. You'll remember like Alexander Madison was getting a bell cow workload the first 5 weeks of the season last year. It just didn't stick because he was garbage. But like Aaron Jones has always been one of the most efficient running backs in fantasy. Ramondre Stevenson, I think you can make a similar case for, really good value. But click on wide receiver. That's where I'm excited about. Unless all right. So Deontay Johnson just went off the board. Deontay Johnson is must draft for me. Christian Watson I like a lot. Rashee Rice, I think, I keep going back and forth because like if he never got suspended and they didn't draft Xavier Worthy, like you could take him round 1, like you could take him early round 2, because that's how great he was in this super valuable role last year. I just worry Worthy steals that role because like he was used in college the same way Rice was used last year, which is peppered with screens. But damn, I loved that range, and we just got absolutely the 112 sucks ass.
It really is. It's not the best. We do Ramondre,
Chris Godwin, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rashee Rice, Deontay Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson. I love that range, and they all just went off the board.
Yeah.
So yeah,
good. And we only have 3 wide receivers, which is a little bit thin through.
Yeah. So let's go Rice. I like the upside there.
All right.
We made the case for it.
Rice and then Ramondre. Or
yeah, go back to running back.
So we got Ramondre, Zamir
Yeah,
White.
I like Jonathan Brooks too.
Let's get your guy. Let's get your guy. Because he's not coming back to us.
He's not?
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, reach. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll do the Jonathan
He'll
Brooks
be a
thing.
value in 2 months.
So you're not I've actually not been drafting a ton of Jonathan Brooks just because I'm like, even if we believe in him long term, I'm worried about the injury affecting him this year, like for the entire year. Like, are you not that worried that are you sure that he's going to be back to something resembling full health by the fantasy playoffs? Like, how confident are you in that?
I mean, it's always a concern, running backs coming off of ACL. I was really concerned about that with Breece Hall last year. Didn't seem to hamper him, didn't seem to slow him down, but I still have that concern. It's just, to me, it's he gets Dave Canales, who just turned Rachaad White overnight into a fantasy superstar, top 3 in targets, top 3 in carries. I don't think Rachaad White's that good.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Brooks is immensely better. I think he's going to be used in that role. And so, yeah, I think they're going to take it easy on him to start, but they're bullish. Everyone's saying he should be ready by week 1. He should be practicing before then.
They've said, I can't wait to show you how much we can run, or what I forget what the quote was exactly, but like, I can't wait to prove to you how dedicated we are. Was that Canales or was that somebody else?
No, I think that was Canales. And then you also heard in the post-draft press conference where he was like, no, it's important for us in the offense I run for a running back to be able to take the handoffs, but then also split out wide occasionally, get those mismatches, or be a check down safety valve for the quarterback, be available in space, make guys miss and it's just like what he's describing is like Rachaad White, like top 5
except good,
usage
much
in fantasy.
better.
Yeah, and better. Yeah.
So this is a good question from Pitch Metricus. So he says, if you were concerned about Jonathan Brooks, then it would look great for Chuba. Do you have any thoughts on Chuba Hubbard? He's somebody that I took a lot of in like prior to the draft and then have completely stopped taking him, mostly because I already have enough exposure for an RB2. But, he could be the RB1 to start. Do you have thoughts on Chuba Hubbard?
Yeah, I just don't see any upside there unless it's an injury to Brooks, which granted, you see that first year back from ACL. It's not just like a drop off in performance. It's also a high risk of injury. That's not like a re-injury to the ACL. It's compensatory injuries. And so that would be the case, is like, all right, this guy comes back, or tries to come back a little too soon. He tweaks something and he's never fully right. And then Chuba's like an RB1 and no one was on it. I think that makes sense. I just think there's like, with handcuffs, they're all kind of the same to me. So I typically want to chase running backs with like a little more upside, like a better. I don't know. Maybe that's just a great spot. Now you're tripping me up because like what if Canales uses it Chuba as a Rashad White? I don't know. It's not something I've dug too deeply into. Hasn't been one of my targets, but yeah, he's a good handcuff.
And again, I was drafting so much of him prior to the NFL draft in the pre-draft contest. So part of it, yeah, for me, I've stopped taking him only because I'm like, my bags are already packed, and like I way overdrafted him. Similar to like Andre Yoshevich, I took 1 million shares pre-draft. Now I like barely touch him, even though I think he still is going to be in competition for the wide receiver 3, a very valuable role in Cincinnati. I've just stopped taking him because I have 1 million shares, and now I'm just all in on Jermaine Burton. But Chuba, to me, I can see absolutely the case. I think you just made a good case for like where he's going, which is pretty late in the draft. I think he's a perfectly fine pick there that I haven't been taking, but I do think he makes some sense where he's going in the draft, because he's going in like the 15th round, I want to say. So you're not really giving up much to take him there. But maybe if you don't consider him to be a power law player, a player who has a lot of upside, then I definitely go for the guys that I'm like, I can see a path to this guy being like really awesome in his role. So I haven't been taking a lot of him. But I think you just made a case for like maybe he is. If something were to happen to Jonathan Brooks, maybe he does like have just an awesome role where he's a league winner.
Yeah. Curtis Samuel just went. That was interesting from the post-draft presser. The GM didn't even mention him. He hyped up Mac Hollins. He spent like 2 minutes hyping up Mac Hollins and then brought up Khalil Shakir and didn't mention Curtis Samuel. Like, I know the Joe Brady connection, but he was also like objectively one of the worst wide receivers in football last year by open rate. Just like could not get open according to ESPN's open score and some of our data. So Mac Hollins is probably a pretty good like last round pick. No one's taking.
Interesting. Yeah. I think you actually mentioned him in your rookie video.
Yeah. Right, so like, I don't like Keon Coleman. I mean, like for fantasy, sure. I just mean like the talent as a separator is questionable. Yeah. Oh damn. We're up.
We are one pick away from being on the clock. So we have Joe Burrow with Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, Kyle Pitts, and we have Jonathan Taylor and Jonathan Brooks at running back.
All right. Can you click on wide receiver for me?
Yeah, so it's by ADP. It's Romeo Doubs, Rashid Shaheed, A.D. Mitchell, Jacoby Myers, Jerry Jeudy.
I like Shaheed. I like Wicks. Did Downs go? I thought Downs goes in this.
Downs goes later. He goes 135. So we could get him with the next pick.
All right. Awesome. Yeah.
So I'm going to start with, we're going to click Shaheed. He is the thumbnail here because you are the Shaheed Whisperer. And then nice. We want to throw on Brock Bowers, Dallas Goedert.
No,
absolutely.
What about running backs?
Running backs, Devin Singletary is next up by ADP. Brian Robinson, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, Gus Edwards, Ty Joe.
Singletary is a good pick. Chubb. I mean, what if he's Chubb in the playoffs? I don't know how much I want to make that gamble, but like in comparison to everyone else, that's better upside. But yeah, I do like Singletary. All
right, so we are at
or actually,
it's too late now.
Yeah. Okay,
you can give your thought though if you want to, and then I'll read off the team after.
No, I always do this. I always draft too many running backs, and then like we'll get to the later rounds. I'm like, oh, I really love Tyrone Tracy. I really love Gus Edwards or whoever. So, yeah, maybe that wasn't the right pick, but YOLO.
We are also, so we're at the point in the draft where I do start thinking about like, who are my late round quarterback options? And so like for this team in particular, looking at our pass catchers, we took Marvin Harrison, Kyler's obviously off the board, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud off the board, T. Higgins. We have the quarterback. So we have our QB1 already. We probably only need 2 since we have Joe Burrow. We do have Kyle Pitts, so we have the out of Kirk Cousins. We can't take Patrick Mahomes, obviously. We do have now the out of Derek Carr if we wanted him. So we are at the point where I'm like, I break ties toward like pass catchers who their quarterback hasn't been taken yet, which, I go back and forth on like whether that is the right approach to like force my stacks. But I think it is, because like you always want to be stacking, but it's always one of those like questionable, like I'm taking the guy that I like less because I can get his quarterback still. I don't know. It's sort of a tough balance there sometimes. But yeah, we're at that point in the draft where it's like, okay, I think I need to be thinking about like, do I have stacking options? So I'll read off our team though. So we have Joe Burrow at quarterback. At running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Brooks, Devin Singletary. Wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, and Rashid Shaheed. And at tight end, we have Kyle Pitts. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. 1-3-5-1.
I think these, yeah. I think I hate 112. I think I hate it a lot. I think this is a good place to get weird because it seems like all the tier ranges I want, we had no chance at.
They just left, yeah.
Yeah. Or no, or like they went at the opposite turn. So
right.
Maybe this is a spot to take like, you know, my favorite, the Mahomes plus Mahomes onslaught, and then draft like a second quarterback late. Don't draft a third quarterback. Take Kelsey, draft a second tight end late. Don't draft a third tight end. And then, so that maybe that's a spot to do that. Just get weird.
So
but
we are actually in the perfect place to do the Mahomes onslaught. I don't know if we had we can look. So we took at 36 and 37 Tank Dell and T. Higgins. We could have taken. Wait, where did Mahomes go?
No,
he went to 55. Wow. Okay. He fell pretty. So I've done that before at the 36, 37, 3-4 turn. I've taken Mahomes with Travis Kelce here. So we could have done that. And then sometimes you'll get either Xavier Worthy or Hollywood Brown to come back to you at the 60-61 turn. So it's actually, I think we were in there. If you wanted to do a Mahomes onslaught, this is actually a good turn to do it. Although in this draft, Mahomes fell all the way to 55. So,
well, he also finishes like the QB 13 last year.
Yeah, but I feel like that was an outlier. Like, don't you expect him to?
I mean, like, I don't think he's but I mean, like, I don't think he's a good value. Like, he's being drafted as the QB4 on average, and like, there's so many. Like, click on quarterback right now.
Yep.
Brock Purdy was there a second ago, which makes no sense to me. Tua Tagovailoa, great pick. Cousins, great pick. Aaron Rodgers in this format, great pick. A little bit later, Bo Nix is like free when he's a starting quarterback with Sean Payton. Bryce Young, like I'm a Canales truther to some degree. I love Deontay. He's must draft for me. I think that helps the offense. And then even Daniel Jones, where it's like you worry about the injury. The team really likes Drew Lock. I think he stinks, but team really likes Drew Lock. But I mean, like, how many times have we played Daniel Jones in DFS and it worked out for us, right? The guy runs.
Not last year. Didn't work out at all last year.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, it was short-lived last year.
Yeah. It was just pointed out to us. Birdoggy says Atlanta and Cincinnati both have the Week 12 bye week. So as a bye week, bro, I probably would not take Kirk Cousins along with Joe Burrow. Same with New Orleans, New York Jets. So we're losing some of our late round quarterback options.
I don't even look at bye weeks.
I know you don't, but at the onesie position, I feel like it's, I don't know. You give up like 20 points of projection for your team by having overlapping quarterback. I say onesie. I mostly just mean quarterback. I think quarterback more than any other position. It's just like if you don't have a quarterback 1 week, you're giving up about 20 points in projection, and that over the course of a portfolio, you're probably giving up a handful of teams that are going to advance.
Yeah, but like I feel like in order to have a chance at like the Week 17 grand prize, you probably absolutely dominated during the regular season, and so like 20 points don't really matter.
I'm not sure if that's true. I
don't know if it's true.
Yeah, and again, this is, as you say, we have a small sample. None of us really know, but I think that there is some truth to, like, I think you're better off being the second best team in your pod, like advancing with the second best team, because otherwise, if you are just dominating, probably you have a lot of players on your team that everybody else is going to have in the playoff weeks too. So like, I think there is some advantage to just like squeaking into the playoffs and then having like a unique team. I don't know if that works for.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel? Actually, I know exactly. I just listened to your rookie podcast about Xavier Legette. So I was going to ask you about. Okay, so he goes. All right, let's see. So by 80.
Oh, I love Rico Dowdle. And
wait, where did he go? He's far down at 80. Okay, we can go Rico Dowdle.
I'll tell you why in a little bit, but click on wide receiver. That's way more of a need, I think.
Okay, yeah. So
I like Wicks a lot.
Love me some Wicks.
Judy is a good value here.
That's a good idea. He's also Um,
then you want to take Wicks too. I like the upside.
let's see. Judy by week 10. Yeah, we could go Wicks. Wicks over Rico Dowdle.
Dowdle's a better value. Um, it's your
Dowdle's a,
call.
okay, let's see. Um wait, what
Chat
was
likes Wicks. Maybe
I mean,
is there a chance Dowdle falls?
there is a slight chance that Dowdle falls.
I mean,
Um
Marshawn Lloyd is good. Kendry Miller is good. So I like all three of those guys a lot. But yeah,
we've got a pretty strong, yeah,
I'll
top
make my
3.
pitch on Dowdle is just that I think the opportunity could be really good because we know who Zeke is at this stage of his career, I think. And it's a backfield that ranked top 5 in team weighted opportunity points per game last year. And the year before that, top 2, top 3. And so like, obviously this begs the question, like, well, like Rico Dowdle sucks, right? I don't know about that. The team loves him. He's had a ton of injuries. The just, kept him on the roster. He was always a preseason DFS superstar. And the best film person I know when it comes to running backs, I don't think there's a close second, is Danny Kelly. And like, he'll tell you the same thing. Is like, he's like the most humble guy you'll ever meet, but he's like, I'm damn good at running backs. And he really is. And so he loved Dowdle coming out. And then we talked about him, like when he's making me money in preseason DFS, he's like, Dowdle's good. Like, I'm pretty convinced Dowdle is good. And so like, now's the chance. And so like, I want to bet on Danny Kelly, who's usually dead right with running backs. So
Okay.
I like, I mean, like, and right now beat writers are saying it's a 50-50 split right now between Zeke and Dowdle. And like, it's not priced like that at all. Even if it's just a 50-50 split, this is a great price.
Yeah.
Marshawn
Agreed.
Lloyd, right. So all three of those, they all went back to back to back. They're all great. Again, nice little tier range. Kendry Miller.
Oh yeah, we had a question about Kendry Miller earlier. Go ahead.
I was high on him coming out. Alvin Kamara getting up there in age. When a rookie running back misses a significant amount of time in preseason and training camp, you typically just write off that rookie year because like the learning curve is so steep, dealt with 6 different injuries. So basically like he's a rookie to me. And this is a player who was drafted high, who I thought was pretty good coming out of college. And then Marshawn Lloyd is just like, the buzz on him is insane. They're like, no, he's the Aaron Jones for us. He's going to be in the Aaron Jones role. We want to get him in space, dynamic running back, explosive. We want to get him lined up on linebackers, catching the ball, see a ton of upside with him. And so massive spike week potential. So yeah, like all those guys, I'm trying to see if there's any even later round running backs I'm excited about, but
yeah, so I gotta say I don't think I've drafted a ton of Kendry Miller on streams, but I've been doing a lot of drafts off stream, the other drafts, and I've been super in on Kendry Miller. I've bought in pretty recently. I'm very much into Kendry Miller. Yeah, I really love kind of that range of running backs. So here's the running backs by ADP: Ty Chandler, Ray Davis, Kamani Vidal, Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, Jaleel McLaughlin, J.K. Dobbins, Chuba Hubbard. I know you said you like Tyrone Tracy. Bucky Irving, a guy that at one point, Scott, I was not drafting any Bucky Irving because you had tweeted something about like, this does not look like the profile of a player who's going to be great in the NFL. But then he goes to the Buccaneers, and I saw you kind of.
Did I tweet that about
Irving? I'm pretty sure you did. Maybe I could be wrong about that.
So
somebody else.
What I said about Irving was if he was like 15 pounds heavier, he'd be a player you're taking around where Jonathan Brooks is going, right? It's just the weight, the BMI doesn't lend itself towards being a volume back, but like everything about his profile besides that is great. Rachaad White like is the worst runner in football over the last 2 years. I know he got better as the season went on last year, but still worry about that. And like the team said at the combine, they were like, no, we need to add help. He took on too much of a load. So I like Irving. I like Tyrone Tracy. I like Audric Estime. I like Blake Watson super late. I think I like J.K. Dobbins. Oh, I guess because like, listen, like, I don't think he stays healthy, but like the team likes him and thinks he's going to stay healthy. So.
All right, Scott. So Kirk Cousins might fall to us. I might make a case for a player that I don't like drafting, but makes sense for us on this team. You probably have an idea who I'm talking about. Deshaun Watson.
I can't take him over Cousins or Rodgers.
Okay. So
click on quarterback and scroll all the way down.
Yeah. So we have.
Would we be okay
with who?
Scroll. Just keep scrolling down to the Bo Nix, Bryce Young range.
Yeah, Bo Nix is way down at 208. Bryce Young.
All right, he's week 14. I'm fine with that. Bryce Young, I'm fine with that. All
right. We got to take somebody here though.
Yeah. So Cousins or Rodgers, and then we'll get one of those QB3s.
Okay, love that. Yeah,
look, that's where the value is. There's like 5 quarterbacks, and we'll probably start a chain where people take those.
All right, and then do you want to do Marvin Mims here for the?
No, click on wide receiver though.
Malachi.
I hate Malachi Corley as like a dynasty prospect, but like he's a great best ball pick here.
We probably don't want to take a wide receiver who we can't stack with a quarterback though. Any of these running backs
better than anyone else. No, I don't like those guys.
Shit.
We should have taken Rodgers then and stacked him up with Corley, but
we already have the stack of Kirk Cousins with Kyle Pitts. I'm just saying we only have probably one more wide receiver spot to take, and if we're gonna take a Bo Nix or a Bryce Young, we probably want to save one of our. I guess we could have done like Jatavian Sanders with Bryce Young.
I mean, this is what I'm saying about stacking is like, to me, you just instead of taking a player who's a really good bet to beat ADP, we just took, I don't know, a guy I'm not as high on. People are going apeshit for Kamani Vidal, but he was like a round 6 pick, and like Gus Edwards is there. And what I was saying about J.K. Dobbins is like, yeah, probably his like legs are going to explode in week 1 after his second carry, but like the team is banking on it being Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins can't say how then it's, but I mean, like either way, that's not a super valuable role.
Yeah. The Vidal pick was not really what either of us wanted to do there. I was like,
so who were you gonna cape up for? Irving?
No, so I was thinking Deshaun Watson would fit our build here just as a quarterback who doesn't have the week 12 bye. We could have just done 2 quarterbacks.
I'm sorry. I just hate him. I
hate him too.
It's not, I mean, like for fantasy.
From a fantasy standpoint, you hate him.
He's not even healthy. Like he was quoted like 4 weeks ago where he's like, I have no timeline. I'll be back when I'm back. It's like, it's not what you want to hear from a guy who's sucked terribly for 2 years. Yeah. And it's already May.
Yeah, that is a good point.
I mean, Stafford would have been good.
Oh, we got Kirk Cousins, who we have stacked already. We could, if you want to, we could experiment with not doing an alternating bye week quarterback. We could just say, screw it. We're not bye week bros for this draft. We will buy into Scott's buys don't matter and not do another quarterback also.
I mean, I might just not know anything. Like I said, this is the second draft I've done. I didn't re-update my best ball Bible. The game might have just passed me by and I don't know anything, but I mean, you're more the expert than I am, I think, with best ball these days. I just have the
I definitely do a lot more of it than you do. So there was I actually have not read the piece yet. I think Neil Farley came out with something that kind of examined bye weeks in best ball. And my understanding of it, only from hearing Pete Overzet talking about it, was Pete saying that he was going to capitulate to the bye week bros because the Neil Farley piece.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you got to send that to me. I'll check it out.
I think specifically at the onesie positions. Yeah, so I actually didn't go find that. I meant to go and read what he had actually said, but I just took it from what Pete said, that bye weeks are at least somewhat important for advance rates. Which was my inclination, but I have no idea to what extent it was important. I think that I had seen something previously that kind of suggested that it was kind of I think Leone put out something that sort of suggested it was not the most important thing. So I kind of want to read it for myself. That is a good point. But yeah, we could. It's one of those things that's like, I think it matters over a portfolio. Like, you're going to give yourself a few extra bullets in the playoffs by paying attention to bye weeks. But on one particular team, it probably gives you a 1% better chance of advancing. So it's not the end of the world if we don't, every single team adhere to bye week.
So let's not get caught with our pants down. Let's try and preemptively come up with stacks. There's no way Jermaine Burton's still available, right?
No, Jermaine Burton went. All right, actually, let me sort by ADP. Yeah, he went. Where did he go? Because he would have been good for our stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went
Brandon
151.
Powell or Trent Sherfield is going to be the slot wide receiver for the Vikings. We could also take Mike Gesicki as the tight end for the Bengals.
True. Yeah. I mean, we already have a single stack with Joe Burrow too, which is nice.
That's
With
true.
Higgins, assuming he doesn't get traded.
Yeah.
Are you? Do you think that Andre Yoshevich has any chance to be relevant this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think what is it? Trent Irwin? No, what's the
Charlie Jones is there. Jermaine Burton just took the
I think Trent Irwin is probably the most likely to be the slot.
Okay.
They like him a lot.
Yeah.
Or would be the most likely if I didn't think they're going to move Jamar Chase into the slot and kick Burton outside. So like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's what it's going to be, and there's no need to draft another Bengal wide receiver.
All right, so we are on the board here on the clock. I like Jaleel McLaughlin quite a bit, but we don't have to take him. Who do you like at the top of ADP here?
I think he's fine. I'd rather draft a Broncos running back later. Tyron Tracy's fine. Okay. Chuba's there, but what about wide receivers? That's our need. I click on Wandale. I don't love Wandale, but
anybody else stand out to you here by ADP? So we got Wandale.
Shit, this is gross.
We need a tight end with one of our final three.
Let's click on tight end. Yeah, we haven't even looked at tight end.
So we already have a week 12. We could probably get by with a tight end being the same bye week. So if you wanted Jawan, other we could go Noah Fant.
Yeah, let's go Jawan and then probably Gesicki late. I'm guessing like he's barely being drafted.
Well, Gesicki will also be week 12 bye week.
Oh shit. Yeah. Whatever, he's fine.
Yeah, whatever. So we can go somewhere else.
You're ceding so much edge.
I don't think I am.
Much EV. Okay.
I think.
Oh wow, there's only 2 rounds left.
Yeah, I think what is seeding EV is that we're having these conversations too late. We're doing the thing where it's like we try not to talk about it because people are listening to us, and then it's like, oh shit, we haven't had this conversation, and we're not giving ourselves enough time.
I've got a must draft wide receiver for you, but you're gonna kill yourself.
Oh, do I need to? Should I guess who it is?
Yeah.
A must draft wide receiver, and I'm gonna kill myself. Bo Melton? Is it because he's a Packers guy, or is it Noah Brown?
It's Kadarius Toney.
No, Scott. Guys, can we kick Scott off? He was all on the Justin Ross train last year. Now he's going to get me going for a dusty Kadarius Toney. I'd rather go back to Justin Ross, if I'm being honest. All right, make the case for Kadarius Toney.
It's just kind of the same case as last year, except he's should be healthy, right? The Chief, before they drafted Worthy, the GM said Toney is our most talented wide receiver right now. Maybe that's with like the Rashee Rice suspended, but he's supposed to be suspended half the season. And listen, it's just, I don't know. This is what Andy Reid likes. It's like the island of misfit toys is his wide receiver room, where it's guys who had potential or have off the field issues. And I don't know what you'd think with, I know I'm not making a good case here, but Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, right? That solves a lot of issues, right? And he's still on the team. The guy is like a total nightmare, headache, nutcase, and he's still on the team. That has to, yeah. All right, I know.
Scott, I think I like your point about.
I need a dunce cap.
Mac Hollins. I'd rather take Mac Hollins, I think, than.
But he doesn't have Tony's upside, which is like a round one wide receiver who's like moves in such a way I've never seen a receiver move. Maybe that's why he's always hurt with Patrick Mahomes. But then again, Mac Hollins with Josh Allen.
He does have Josh Allen.
Maybe you're right.
All right. Yeah. We got a super chat here from Bindles for $1.99. It says Kadarius Toney, which is what everybody is thinking. So I appreciate Bindles speaking for everybody.
I know.
Since Bindles sent in that super chat, I got to tell you a quick story, Scott. My story is that yesterday or 2 days ago, I get a DM from Bindles with a link. No like explanation of what this link is. No like, hey, join my league, whatever. Just a link to a sleeper league. So I click on it, and it's into this like fantasy football league. And the first message I get is Bindle saying, "Sorry, Neil, this league is full." So I was like, did you just invite me into this league just to big time me? I'm pretty sure Bindle's invited me into a fantasy football league just so he could be like, "Sorry, buddy, this league is full. You didn't make the cut." So that is my Bindle story. Bindles and I are doing weekly drafts together across. We do one on my stream one week and then his stream the next week. He's really, really nice guy, except for I thought he was a really nice guy. And then he invited me into a best ball league just to big time me.
I can't believe it. Wow.
Yeah.
Comments are pretty good right now. Is Sky Moore still on the roster? Nice. I love the argument. He's still on the team. Jewish McCaffrey, Tony's talents are dropping passes and running the wrong routes. Yeah, but like, what if he runs the right routes? Like, this is what Andy Reid said when he drafted Xavier Worthy, is like, we're going to take it slow with him because our offense is notoriously difficult for young wide receivers. It wasn't for Rashee Rice, but like, maybe, I don't know. This is obviously a bad argument, but like the guy, no one's drafting him, right? So like, if you're right, there's an asymmetric reward. Kincaid is probably the only pass catcher worth having on the Bills. That seems impossible when your quarterback is Josh Allen and the defense is regressing to the degree that it is. As bad of a pick as Tony would be, someone drafted Rashad Penny in my Ball Mania draft earlier today. So I guess anything is possible. CEH better. Oh man, I'm getting roasted out here, Neil. All right, who are our last two picks, Neil?
All right, so let's take a look. So we have two quarterbacks who have the same bye week. We have two tight ends who have the same bye week. I am hating this team so much, Scott. We only have four. We definitely need another running back. We only have four running backs, the fourth of which is Kamani Vidal. So here's what I'm thinking. We do need to just forego bye weeks because we need to get
I win
the right players. Yeah, just for this team.
I get my way.
I think we have enough receivers, so we're not doing fucking Kadarius Toney on a 9 wide receiver team. I think we need to obviously do at least one running back.
Yeah,
we could do one running back and one.
Well, Tyron Tracy just went.
He just went. Okay. Yeah.
So click on running back. Khalil Herbert's fine.
I'm a Khalil Herbert guy just because I think he's probably the running back 2 and also might get traded to a better situation. So I'm in on Khalil Herbert. I know they just said that Dameon Pierce might be splitting running back duties in Houston with Mixon, which is insane.
If he gets traded, he's a guy who would jump like 7 rounds, and at least in my rankings from where he is now. But
Khalil Herbert or
Dameon Pierce, he's just like a bad fit for that outside zone scheme. What about Estime and Blake Watson?
Love it. I've taken a couple shares of Blake Watson and several of Estime.
Awesome. Yeah, they're both still there.
They are both still there.
Shit. Hold on. Scroll up to our team.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't think this through. We have two quarterbacks on the same bye and 2 tight ends on the same bye.
Yeah, this is awful, Scott. Week 12. Yeah. We're gonna be in first place and drop to like 6th.
Week 12 is gonna suck for us. Yeah. So prioritize quarterback, obviously, right? And we'll take Bo Nix.
Bo Nix,
and then we'll stack him with the running back.
Which running back would you? Who's more likely to catch passes of Watson or Estime?
For sure, Watson, but Estime could lead the team in carries easily. Like Peyton hates Javonte Williams. Like watch the interviews, but I like both. Also, Watson's a UDFA, so like the chances of him hitting are super low. But like Peyton thinks he's a round 5 or round 6 pick every time he talks about it. He's like, yeah, we took him in round 6. It's like, no,
everybody.
Who?
Peyton just likes to feel smarter than everybody. So
I think he is. No, that's maybe I'm wrong, but that's my take. Is just at least for fantasy, like his offenses always smash for like they're just sick for fantasy. His backfield as a unit always finishes top 3 in PPR. The quarterback, no matter how shitty they are, always exceeds expectations. And so that's what matters to me. Blake Watson was one of my guys. Audric Estime was one of my guys. Peyton did say after he drafted Estime, he said, we like him on early downs. We'll have to wait and see what he could be as a pass catcher. I don't like to put that on a guy too early before I could see what they could do. Cause that's difficult because there's all these things that go into it, et cetera. But then like Blake Watson, how he was a UDFA, how he was talking about him 2 weeks ago. He was like, oh, we're so excited about him. We got him round 5 or round 6. He was a UDFA, but this means that they had like a much higher grade on him. They're like, he's going to compete for against Jaleel McLaughlin for touches. I liked I liked Watson more than Jaleel, although Jaleel is like the all-time leading runner in NCAA history. It was at
Is
like
he
a
really?
D2 school, but and he impressed. It's just with him. It's like a size thing. I think he's really small. Let's see. I know Blake Watson's pretty small too, but I think he's super small. Let's see.
Huh. I know he's
I
not a
just
big
worry about
guy.
the weight. So he's
Yeah.
187 pounds, 5'8". What was Darren
That's
Sproles?
Jaleel McLaughlin's only 5'8".
But
Smaller
no,
than I thought.
5'7", 187. Darren Sproles was 5'6", 190. So higher BMI. Yeah, it was the BMI. It was
What was Reggie
Blake
Bush?
Watson
Right around there.
is a little bit 5'9", 194.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, sorry for making you draft the worst team you've drafted so far. But
I
in my
hate our team
defense,
so much, Scott.
I had no gauge on ADP, and we didn't. If we did this again next week, we would have a killer team.
No,
I was too rusty.
I'm leading the draft, so it's on me. It's on me for not thinking quicker about like, oh God, I can't take who Scott wants me to take because he doesn't line up. Scott, I'm hearing you. Are you saying that you're not up for doing another draft?
Oh no, let's do
Okay.
it. I need a chance at redemption.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. We're gonna do one more draft, and I'm glad to hear that because I'm definitely doing another draft, and I would love for you to stay because I agree. You need a chance of redemption. I'm giving you responsibility for this. So I've changed my mind. I'm not taking responsibility. I'm giving Scott all the responsibility for this bad team.
Someone said Jaleel is like A-Chain light to me. Yeah, that's like the perfect upside argument for him.
That's why I draft a ton of Jaleel. Yeah.
He also said it was weird though. Like Peyton didn't seem super high on him, but maybe that's just me trying to read too deeply into things. But he also said A-Chain was 187 pounds too. Yes, but this is one of the reasons why I'm so high on him is he was a track star in college, so he was never allowed to really bulk up, which is something he's done this past off season. So I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna get some water and
Sounds good. Sounded like a Boston guy, Water or Rhode Island. My friend who's from the Massachusetts Rhode Island border calls it Water. I guess it's a Philadelphia thing too. No, it's Philadelphia more than anything because they call it water ice for some reason. The like crushed ice. Now I can't think of what it's called here. The like juicy crushed ice. Philadelphians call it water ice. Makes no sense to me. Water. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that was not our best team in my opinion. I think with Scott's deep player analysis, we could do better. We just needed to plan ahead a little bit more with some of those picks. And while Scott's not here, I will say it's on me. It's on me for not being more on top of what we're actually drafting. But we end up with Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, Bo Nix at quarterback. So we did get that offsetting bye week with Bo Nix. At running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Jonathan Brooks, Devin Singletary, Kamani Vidal, Audric Estime. So we get 5 running backs there. Vidal, we wasn't really a planned pick, but we got him right at ADP anyway. He is offsetting bye week. I think it's fine. Wide receiver, we have Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Rashi Rice, Rashid Shaheed, Jerry Jeudy, Dontavian Wicks, Wandale Robinson. And at tight end, we have same bye week, Kyle Pitts and Juwan Johnson. I think we can get away with not offsetting the buys at tight end. Of course, the most important pick there was, of course, Rashid Shaheed, because I've said many times that Scott is the Rashid Shaheed whisperer. Last year, he nailed like which were the Rashid Shaheed weeks. Scott, I got to ask you, is this just going to be a Rashid Shaheed season? Like, is he just going to be out there more often than he was last year, and he's just going to crush all year?
So it's possible. I think this offensive coordinator is a really big upgrade. I think he's an elite deep threat. Since like week 6 of his rookie year, when he came out of nowhere, like I've been super bullish on him and his potential. Pat Thorman had a great stat. He is the only wide receiver to have a perfect wide receiver rating or passer rating when targeted on deep passes in each of the last 2 years. This new OC is making a point to run a lot more motion, a lot more play action, things which I think held back both Olave and Shaheed last year. And then for DFS, there's just some players where it's really this simple. It's like, play them against zone coverage, play Rashid Shaheed against zone coverage, play Debo against zone coverage, play Chris Godwin against zone coverage. And so it was just, hey, he's really cheap. He's getting zone coverage and he's like his fantasy points per route run doubles against zone. And so we just did that. And like no one else is aware of it. So it just kept working out for us.
Yeah. And it was working out quite well last year.
But anyway, yeah, he could take that next step. He could just be like a more complete receiver and be awesome. I don't know, but like even if not, he's just like an ideal best ball pick where you get those spike weeks.
He's gonna have those spike weeks, like no doubt about it. Yeah, I've been taking a ton of Rashid. Love where he goes in drafts. All right, well let's jump into another one. Sometimes I go through and grade the drafts of people who drafted with us, but let's just jump into another draft right away because it is late on Memorial Day. I know people don't want to be up forever, so given the time, we're just going to jump right into another draft. We are going to make up for our not heeding to my bye week broness enough in the last one, or we'll just throw it out the window as Scott would like to do. Scott doesn't want to factor in bye weeks at all. He just wants to take his power.
I haven't read that article. I'm willing to be I just think generally the player is the most important thing. Drafting the right player. And by the way, comments are what
10 hole.
Oh
it's
God,
not as bad as last time.
This isn't fair to do to me.
Yeah, this is not ideal.
I'm getting roasted, by the way, for not knowing how to pronounce water. Yeah, it's like my least favorite word. I just can't pronounce it right.
Remind me where you're from originally, Scott.
New Jersey.
Oh, so you are right in that like triangle. So I was saying, friend in Rhode Island, but I was actually I was thinking of he calls a drinking fountain a bubbler. But I have friends from Philadelphia who call it like the crushed ice, and I can't like a slushy. They call it water ice. Like Rita's water ice is like, and I'm like, what are you saying? Water ice? Like it's like what that doesn't make any damn sense.
And then they're like, that John, ice? And then you're just like, what?
Yeah, exactly. But you're pretty. I mean, New Jersey, pretty close. So maybe it's an East Coast.
I don't know where it comes from, but it's my Achilles heel of pronunciation.
That's really funny.
That and like I have a UFC podcast. I just get every name pronounced wrong.
So here's one that has. So my younger brother says thank you instead of thank you. So just like the way he pronounces th is like on that word is thank you. And I have watching Peter Overzet streams. He says it the exact same way as my brother. I'm sure it's a much more common thing than I think it is, saying thank you instead of thank you. But it's something I always made fun of my brother for. And then I'm like, oh, Pete says it the exact same way as my brother. It's probably something that a lot of people say it that way. I
have a friend who says brefixed.
Brefixed. I like that. That's funny. All right. So 10 hole, I feel like we can do it a little bit different than our last.
Do we want to go crazy with like a Mahomes stack or?
Yeah. I mean, we could do that on the second turn, the 3-4
Just
turn.
Go full galaxy brain.
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Someone asked if I like being from
wait. Puka, AJ Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marvin Harrison, Drake London.
I think it's very clearly Puka or AJ Brown, and I'm fine with either. So if you want to diversify or whatever.
I mean, would you want to do like a galaxy brain? No, let's just do Puka. I was gonna say like AJ Brown lines up perfectly with like Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith. Like you can just
I think that's an argument. We will probably have AJ Brown higher in our projections.
Will you really?
Probably.
All right, so it's coming back around to us.
Puka and Cup also have the worst playoff strength of schedule.
Oh, do they really?
Shoot. Yeah.
Okay.
I should have pulled that up. We're not off to a hot start here, Neil.
Yeah. Well, we'll make up for it. We'll take somebody else who's great in the playoffs.
Right, I mean, you got to get lucky if you want to win.
You like Chris Olave, one of these running backs, Devontae.
I like Jonathan Taylor a lot, but I'm cool with. I actually don't love those wide receivers.
Taylor over Jahmyr Gibbs. Is that a take for you?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you don't love any. All right, let's just do Taylor. If you don't love those wide receivers, that'll make it easy for us. Okay.
He was the RB2 when he was healthy the last X amount of weeks with Zach Moss, and now Zach Moss is gone, and offense is going to be better.
I did not remember him being that good. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's in the strength of schedule article, bro. Let me pull it up.
Yeah. So a lot of familiar names here. We got Jewish McCaffrey in the draft with us. We got Paul, I was inverted, in here with us. We got Mr. in here with us. Dave Kluge, I know the name from the fantasy industry. Another, maybe he's streaming against us. Who knows?
So Jonathan Taylor earned his first start of the season in week 7. From that point on, he ranked Xth among all running backs in Underdog's half-point PPR format by fantasy points per game. So where do you think he ranked from his first start of the season till the end of the season, week 7 on?
Wait, sorry, say that again.
Jonathan Taylor earned his first start of the season in week 7. From that point on, he ranked where among all running backs in Underdog's half-point PPR format?
Ranked second.
He ranked third.
Oh, well, you told me second. So
I know I lied to you, but still, like, who remembers that? And he did that with only a 66% snap share, splitting work with Zach Moss, who's no longer there. He did it despite injury. He has the 5th best playoff schedule. And so, yeah, I like that. Jameer Gibbs, if this were PPR, yeah, for sure. Give me Jameer Gibbs, but it's,
okay, so
it's half point.
That's the difference.
PPR.
Interesting. That's fair.
Montgomery's going to get those TDs.
Troy is here in the 3-hole. Good to see you here, Troy. Drafted with us. Please don't snipe us. Get your guys absolutely right. Hoosier Devo, who was actually the draft I was telling you about earlier with Bindles, where I got invited and then was too late. Hoosier Devo, same thing happened to him. He came in right after me, so apparently it was his big time.
He's just flexing on everyone.
Just flexing on everybody. Exactly. Hey, come to my league. Nope, sorry.
That's a power move.
Rug pull. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
I'm gonna start doing that.
That's a good idea. Show everybody how powerful you are. I run the leagues. I'm Bindles. All right, so
Can you click on wide receiver?
Yeah. Sort of by ADP.
Yeah, so that felt like I don't know. Wide receiver is tough. I'm kind of behind on just about all my research.
Macro, sort of a macro point, but also very very applicable to what we're trying to do here. How do you feel about stacking Puka with Cooper Kupp? So Kupp, for reference, would go like right at our pick here in the 3rd round. How do you feel about that as a stack?
So I don't like that. I think that caps your upside, where it's like you see your 2 wide receivers are positively correlated, which they are to a point, because like, oh, if one wide receiver scores 20 points, probably the quarterback did really well. The team scored a lot of touchdowns. But if a wide receiver scores 40 points, probably the other wide receiver didn't do that well.
Right.
And so it's like one of those things where, tournament style format like that. And it's also like, he just had the best rookie season ever. So you take him round 1, you're banking on him just being the absolute alpha, maybe Cooper Kupp. I heard some crazy rumors from legit sources last year about Kupp's health, which like extends to this year. And so, yeah, I kind of do think he's the guy and he's the alpha. AJ Brown probably would have been the better pick in hindsight, but I think if you take Puka there, you should probably forego Kupp, but Stafford later is great.
Okay. Yep. I think I agree with you. And I've done a ton of the Puka Kupp double. And I've more and more, I'm like, I feel like I don't love doing it for the reasons you just laid out. I think that's, how I've started to feel also. Like it's fun. Like it feels good to just like get the stack together. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, hey, it's going to be tough for both of these guys to get there.
Well, you know what it could be? I'm kind of mad at myself for not thinking about it. It's like,
we're up. Let's just do our pick first. So DK Metcalf is here. We could go Josh Allen if we want to just like get the quarterback first. We could actually do the Kelsey.
I'm kind of worried about
Kelsey
Josh
Mahomes
Allen
thing now. Potentially, if you want to go Kelsey.
You know what? Take Kupp. Fuck it, and I'll explain what I was thinking.
All right.
Here's the reason for it. Is so that I just gave you the counter argument, which is week 17. But what if Kupp goes nuclear, or what if Puka sucks ass week 14, or 15, and then Puka goes off the next week, where it's one of those where it covers you. What if the Rams are just the offense to be all in on?
Well, yeah, and that's that is the counter argument.
Yeah.
It's just like they could ping pong, and like you have the quarterback each of those weeks. They ping pong the quarterbacks, the wide receivers get you through to the championship. Absolutely. Yeah, that's yeah.
We should have taken T Higgins or Tank Dell, but
we can still take Tank Hill with this pick.
Or Pacheco. Your call.
I guess we did Tank Dell last time.
Yeah, but we also said we wanted to wait on running back.
Yeah, it does feel better to let's just go Tank Dell again. We're getting some of the same players. That's okay.
Yeah.
Also, wait, different. Yeah, bye week 14, different bye week. All right, perfect. So now CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud is available to us with our next pick, which would be like right after ADP for him, would you want to take CJ Stroud since we have Tank Dell, or just wait on quarterback?
I just think there's better value at the position late. Yeah, Scott constantly shitting on Joe Brady is maybe scared of the Bills. Yeah, like Allen was not good with Joe Brady last year. What was it? He took over after the bye, and then Josh Allen had 233 passing yards, 94 passing yards, 237, 169, 359, 203, 186. That makes me really scared. Yeah. And like I said, from my sources, Joe Brady's not really respected among NFL circles.
You think that's what drove Stephon Diggs out?
Well, I have conflicting sources on that. I heard it was an internal thing with Buffalo. They have like their own GPS tracking system, and they basically showed that like his 10-yard split or whatever getting out of his routes, it just like plummeted his average miles per hour, and so they were worried he lost a step. I don't know how true that. Like, I'm not plugged in. I just know people who claim to know things, and right. I trust them. But that's the word on the street, at least.
To answer Meatwad's crazy question, he says, crazy as in good or bad? You said that you heard some crazy things about Cooper Kupp's health.
Crazy bad.
Yeah.
It was also, by the way, like the part of the narrative on Joe Brady was like, he doesn't know how to scheme guys open or scheme wide receiver ones open. So maybe like Diggs was dissatisfied with that. And Joe Brady thought like, oh, my scheme doesn't really need an alpha wide receiver. I have no idea, but that's just all the things going through my head.
Yep. No, that is. All right, so we got both the Rams receivers. We got Tank Dell. So we do have 3 receivers through 4 rounds, so that feels good. Get a late Stafford there. Probably going to pass on CJ Stroud here. So I will say, so one thing that I've been doing a ton of in most of my best ball drafts is taking one of these receivers. Now they're probably not going to make it back to it, or sorry, these tight ends. I've been drafting a ton of Mark Andrews around ADP. Like he's going early 5th round, Dalton Kincaid right on that turn. Also, am I crazy for thinking that these guys are great values at like the 4 or 5 turn? Like Mark Andrews is like a 2nd round pick.
He's one of the best values of the position. He's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to take him.
Glad to hear that you're on the same page. He would also, for this particular team, he would also be, bring back, if we want to do the week 17 thing, to Tank Dell. So,
oh, nice. Yeah, you're going to have to remind me of that. I don't have it memorized like you and Chris.
I don't have all of them memorized. That's just one that I do have memorized because I pay attention to like Arizona, Los Angeles Rams. Feels like a spot that could go off. Trey McBride already went off, Houston and Baltimore, another one that obviously could go off. Kyle Pitts goes interesting at 52, ahead of Mark Andrews. That's kind of interesting. Wonder what the reasoning is there. Maybe just like Kyle Pitts. Fair enough. I have done Kyle Pitts ahead of Mark Andrews, but only when it's part of like a stack, I think, when I already have Drake London, for example. I noticed that you have not brought up Drake London at all. And he's somebody that I've been pretty in on. Like I kind of I've been taking Drake London at that 1-2 turn sometimes. I take it that you're not a huge Drake London believer where he's going in drafts. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was just like once Kirk Cousins was announced the quarterback and Arthur Smith was gone, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm all in, baby. Let's go. Because the only thing that was holding him back, like I believe in the talent, was just Arthur Smith's offense was like World War II era levels of run heavy. And then on top of that, the quarterback was dreadfully inaccurate. And so like he had everything working against him. but now all that's like more than priced in. He's like a fringe round 1 pick. Like, I don't think that's right. I don't think he's that talented. I was talking to a former NFL scout. We were talking about the rookie wide receivers, and it was Rome Odunze is a much better player than more talented than Drake London. Malik Neighbors more talented. Marvin Harrison Jr. far more talented.
Okay. All right. So our pick is up now. CJ Stroud is the best ADP value available and is a stacking option. But it sounds like you don't love him. Do you love James Cook here? We talked about him a little bit earlier. You said that he gives you the ick. Anybody that you like here?
We could take CJ Stroud because I know you like that stack and it makes sense. I can't dump on that. But I mean, like, all of our teams are always wide receiver week. So maybe Ridley.
It was not allowing me to click. Okay, it did go through.
Nice.
Oh man, yeah. Ridley is somebody that I have very little exposure to.
Yeah, I don't know that I love him. It's just the coach said he's going to play the Jamar Chase role in the offense. Like I was like, I think DeAndre Hopkins is a much better value, but once he said that, it's
interesting.
Because like Jamar Chase too last year, like tons of screens.
I don't think I heard that quote, but I think that I heard something else that was equally optimistic. That at one point I was like, do I need to be drafting a little bit more Calvin Ridley? Because it was something that was equally like bullish on him. I forget what the quote was though. All right. So it is our pick. We could get Calvin Ridley now. Do you want to do it?
Yeah. Can you just click on wide receiver?
Yeah. Ridley, McConkey, Addison, Coleman, Godwin, Brian Thomas, JSN.
I want to take Deontay Johnson. Honestly, like that's who I fucking love, but we can take Ridley and hope he falls.
Yeah, I'm thinking like we could very easily get Deontay. It's funny how bullish you are on Deontay Johnson. I've actually I moved him up in rankings when I used other people's ranking sets to make sure that I get some. And it's actually may have changed now, but I feel like my latest updates with leg up and or ETR, they're like really like down on Deontay Johnson, like have him ranked well below wrong. ADP.
Dumb.
So make your case.
Dude, it's just
those known dummies.
Are you kidding me? Deontay Johnson is easily one of the most underrated players in all of football. By ESPN's open score, like he is the number 1 wide receiver over the last 4 years. Over the last 3 years, he's in the top 4 with only Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. All he does is get open at will. He had his best year ever last year by yards per target, yards per route run, all that stuff. His numbers don't look as good because he's always dealt with horrific quarterback play, a terrible offensive coordinator. He's basically discount Drake London. And he also gets hurt a lot and like he'll have like a few really bad drops, but the dude is just money, target hog, discount Garrett Wilson as well. And so what does this Carolina offense desperately need? It needs a guy who can separate, because like, it's not what Leggett does. It's not what Jonathan Mingo does. It's not what a 39-year-old Adam Thielen does. And so I see him as a PPR cheat code target hog. I believe in Canales, easily one of the best values in drafts. Also, like, especially in best ball, where like you want that high floor, the PPR floor. He's going to give it to you all day. I think he has underrated upside. So I think he's sick, but here's the quote. Kevin Clark asked Brian Callahan about Calvin Ridley. He said, "You're going to be looking at a very similar role to what Jamar played for our offense." And then he delved into like a monologue about how when you have the right quarterback wide receiver chemistry, like a Joe Burrow plus Jamar Chase, or a Peyton Manning plus Reggie Wayne or Marvin Harrison, it elevates the offense exponentially, et cetera. And so like, I've always kind of maintained Calvin Ridley's a little overrated, but when you're hearing things like that from the coach and like all the money they paid him, and like Will Levis, like he's like Jameis Winston on steroids. Like, he's going to throw some picks, but like he has a sick arm, like, and Calvin Ridley can do that. He can get open deep. So, yeah. I think that was fun
offenses. Those are fun offenses for fantasy in general, but also just best ball, where it's just like, I don't need to count on this guy week to week. Just like, take big shots down the field to my guy. Yeah, I think Deontay Johnson, it actually doesn't surprise me. He is,
and also Doug Peterson's offense is like the worst for wide receivers, unless you're like a slot or a tight end. But yeah, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say it's not that surprising that, intelligent minds differ on Deontay Johnson, because he was just traded to what was a bad offense. You are projecting this offense to be maybe a little bit better than it was last year, or just like he might be the missing piece that allows this offense to thrive. But like people who are doing rankings, sometimes you got to be a little bit more conservative in your rankings than you want to be, just from a like, well, I don't want to, put this guy way ahead of ADP and get a ton of him. I guess they have him behind ADP, so that point doesn't necessarily stand. But I guess it doesn't surprise me that intelligent minds differ on Deontay Johnson, just because he's in a brand new position. Like there's a lot of volatility.
They're just wrong, and I'm right. I'm the best.
They can be wrong and still be intelligent minds, though.
Not in this one. This is too obvious.
All right. Fair enough. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Oh, we could do DeAndre Hopkins and Will Levis later.
Stack it up.
We have 2 dub stacks. That's kind of fun, man.
That is fun. And
Deontay's still there though. Deontay's still. Oh, and Jake Ferguson, best value at the tight end position. Him and Mark Andrews, best values at the tight end position. Can you click on all those guys just so we don't get a auto drop?
So I'm gonna go. Deontay goes. I'm gonna click Hopkins and Ferguson.
And Deontay
went.
What mother?
Damn. All right, DeAndre or Ferguson? Ferguson is.
We don't have a tight end, right? Let's go Ferguson.
Yeah, we don't have a tight end
because Brooks is there too.
Yeah,
and Burrow. I feel like we shouldn't have taken Stroud if Burrow's there. And Murray and Burrow, Dak. That's the thing.
You don't have anybody from Cincinnati, it's like who? I guess we could stack him up with Burton later.
I just don't care about that. It's just like what are the chances he outscores CJ Stroud? 47%, 58%, and he goes how many rounds later?
He goes couple rounds later. I feel like Stroud is still the favorite to outscore him, but it is definitely driven by stacking. Like just like Stroud is like 3 of his receivers all go. Like,
see, that's what I mean about stacking being a little overrated, right? Like if you're like, I think I would rather have Burrow here, no stack, than CJ Stroud rounds earlier with just 1 wide receiver.
Okay, I disagree with you, but let's wait until we make our pick before I tell you why you're dumb and the ETR and leg up
hell yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, first of all, let's make our pick though. DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Jalen.
Click on wide receiver real quick. Wide receivers are running.
It's a wasteland.
All right, no more. Done with that. I think it's a quarterback. Unless you want Raheem Mostert.
Because we have we only have 1 stack there. We could go Dak Prescott because we have Ferguson.
Yeah,
that makes more sense for us than Burrow. All right, so here's my.
Dak was the QB2 after the bye from what was it, week 9 on QB2. Chris isn't as high on him, but whatever.
I like Dak. I don't know that I would normally take 2 quarterbacks this early. To your point that you made at the beginning, it's where the
value
was right here. Yeah.
How many drafts are you going to be in where you can do that?
All right, so here is where I disagree with you.
That's a huge point. Is like if you're doing 150 drafts, you want this is why you grab the ADP values, is you want like the cheapest cost on average for all your, and so you just picked up. Or maybe Joe Burrow would have made more sense. But anyway, it's like a cheap share. So
we could have taken Joe Burrow there and backstacked him later with Jermaine Burton or Andre Yoshevitz or Gesicki. So like he would have been a fine pick there. But since we had Ferguson, I feel like what are the odds that Joe Burrow outscores Dak Prescott? Maybe 54% to 46%, and Dak we have stacked up. So it's similar. Okay, so here is my counterpoint to just take the ADP value there is. Once you get into those playoff weeks, you are going to be facing people who have Joe Burrow with his receivers. And if he does go off in the way that you need him to go off in those weeks, they're going to benefit from it more than you are. And you're in a pod of 12 teams or whatever it is. They're just going to have such a big advantage on you, even though your quarterback is going off as you need him to. They're going to have him stacked with a receiver who's also going off. So you're going to be kind of in a tough situation there if you don't have the receiver to go with your quarterback.
Yeah, and this is what the commenters are saying too. But I'm telling you, like, look at the last 4 winners, right? Last year's winner, they only had 1 stack score points for them in week 17. It was wide receiver 1 plus Oppo wide receiver 1. It wasn't the quarterback. Actually maybe they did. I think they had Jordan Reed and Jordan Love and Jaden Reed.
Actually, I don't know if they had Jordan Love. They definitely had at least one stack, but I don't remember.
Yeah, you might be right.
With
you
the
might be. I mean, so I know there's an edge there, but I think the disparity is just like, I think my edge, it comes from out picking players better than everyone else. And so, but like this, I'm not mad at all. Like Dak Prescott with the Jake Ferguson, like I think that's great. But I mean, Stroud versus Burrow, yeah, I think there's just better value there. Like even if they're unstacked, like week 17, it's just, you could have Stroud, you could have Tank Dell smashing and Burrow outscoring him. You know, it's just he could get there with 2, rushing touchdowns.
Joe Burrow. See, that's the thing. Most people would argue, and I would argue, like it is more okay to take a quarterback unstacked if they are a rushing quarterback, if they have those 2 rushing touchdown upside. But like, has Joe Burrow ever done that in his career? 2 rushing touchdowns?
Yeah. He's had those weeks where like Chase is fine, Higgins is fine, tight end scores a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, or the team finds their way on the 1 yard line. Mixon can't get it in, which happens all the time, and he QB sneaks his way in. I don't know. Like, there's no right answer here. It's tricky. We're kind of just teasing this out.
Yeah. So Jewish McCaffrey, and I agree with it, says the evidence is overwhelming to stack what Burrow's ADP is nice and a decent case to fade some of the elite QB prices. So I do agree with that. So like, I don't disagree with your point that like, oh man,
we're on the clock.
We are on the clock. All right. So we have Stroud and Dak. Probably nobody to stack with here.
Shaheed, and
let's just go back to our guy.
Yeah, he's on the.
We only have 1 running back, but yeah, Brian Robinson is the same. Let's just go to Shaheed.
Whatever. That's fun.
Love Shaheed. Love me some Shaheed. All right, so we probably want a running back, or I mean, are you a Dallas Goedert guy? Or no, we could get Dalton Schultz probably our next turn if we want
him. Yeah, I like that. But let's click on running backs. Let's just see what the running backs we have. So click on Brian Robinson. Click on Gus Edwards.
Yes.
Click on Nick Chubb because fuck it. What about Austin Eckler? What are your thoughts on him?
I'm pretty out on Eckler.
Yeah, same.
I'm in on Gus Edwards. I like the Gus Edwards. So I'm also out on Nick Chubb, but you could, if you want to convince me.
I mean, it's just what if he's Nick? Oh no, definitely click on Gus Edwards here. That's the right pick.
Thank you.
But I was just saying, like, what if he's Nick Chubb during the play? I think it's a stretch, but
I am going to star Dalton Schultz just as a reminder that we do have the stack there. Oh, and we should go maybe Brandon Cooks. I'll at least star him. We can have that conversation. He's somebody that I haven't drafted a ton of, and I sort of feel like I should be at ADP. Like Brandon Cooks had some really nice weeks last week, or last season, pretty like later in the year. I feel like he kind of came on a little bit. I expected him to be good in that Dallas offense, and now he's at a pretty reasonable price. How do you feel about Brandon Cooks this year?
I honestly haven't given it enough thought. I think fine, just because available targets. He just sucked so badly last year, but I know Chris and I debated about this when we were going through projections. I made the case where it's like available targets though. And it's like, yeah, but he just sucks so bad last year. So that's where you end. I just want to go back to the stacking thing because like, I don't know. I just like thinking about it. And like, this is how I work through things. I'll play devil's advocate, and I like to hear the counter argument. It's like, imagine we're playing DFS, right? We're building one lineup where it's outside the box, and we could play Joe Burrow naked at 6K, or we could play Stroud at 8K stacked with Tank Dell. They have the same projections. What do you do? It's just like, and there's not an obvious answer there. And like maybe the lean is more on the value.
Yeah, definitely there is a tipping point there where it becomes like you just take the value. So Burrow was right at ADP where we had the opportunity to take him there. Like it wasn't like we were getting him at a big discount. So it's like if he fell to like pick 110, whatever, then maybe I would think about like, let's just take unstack Burrow. To me, then I'm still always trying to stack, just like, because again, like all of my Burrow teams are going to be going up against other Burrow teams that have receivers. And I think it's pretty unlikely that he puts up like all of his points on the ground, or like none of his receivers get there if he's the quarterback you need. But you can usually backstack any of these guys anyway, so it's like it's usually possible to find a stack regardless. I just so going back, I think I agree with you that like we probably didn't need to take Stroud where we took him, given that there are other quarterbacks later. Like in general, I think that he's not a great pick where he goes. Like he goes a little bit too high relative to, just because there are other quarterbacks later that have better value. I guess I'm a big believer in stacking, but also that we probably could have taken Burrow and backstacked him. But you'll have that opportunity basically any time at that turn. Like he just, for whatever reason, people don't like clicking Burrow this year. So like, yeah, if you want to draft Burrow, good news. You can get a lot.
I don't get it. You know what I do. I was gonna say I do think he outscores, but I don't know. But yeah, what is the argument against Joe Burrow? People I think are looking back at 2023 and it's like, wow, his numbers sucked. Yeah, he couldn't move. Like this is what Callahan has said, is like he had that leg injury where he literally couldn't move for the first 6 weeks. So like they just had to get the ball out as quickly as possible and just blew up everything they wanted to do. And then he got hurt like 4 weeks later. And so the wrist injury, Edwin Porras, genius, he's our injury expert, is not worried. So I'm not worried. Dalton Schultz, money.
Next pick. We'll see if Sweatpant Buddha allows it.
All right. Click on Duntavian Wicks too, because he was, and there was someone else we liked around this range.
Wicks goes. So let's just do Schultz.
All right, Schultz. Yeah. I like that. Although with Diggs there, probably he's not as good as he was last year, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's someone that I was way in on before Diggs went there. And now I'm like, but now I basically only take him if I have the Stroud stack. All right, so we have Cooks here. Let's see who else is available. I don't know. Is there anybody else here? I feel like it's down a little. So we have Rico Dowdle down a little ways. Marshawn Lloyd. Burton is down here.
Yeah. Click on Burton. Let's do it. Oh, we don't have Burrow, but still, I like him a lot.
Well, we also, Burton may come back to us. He actually has pretty wide range of where he goes.
Yeah, that's what Jewish McCaffrey was just saying too with Burrow, where it's like he has a high variance to his ADP where you can just, and like that's the difference between us, where it's like this is the third best ball team I've done. You're doing 150, where like for 100%, right. You're right. But like I said, I'm gonna wait till September, draft 30 to 50.
Cooks goes one pick before us. Actually, we could add Dowdle onto our.
Oh, let's do it. Stack. Yeah, we need a running back.
Yeah,
and it's a stack. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's perfect. Worked out great.
Yeah. Click on Marshawn Lloyd too, just in case he falls. And Stafford. Well,
we probably don't want another quarterback with Stroud and Prescott.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Yeah. Since we both of our picks have been at the end of the draft. So the point that you're making about Burrow is one that I've made for Jamar Chase. For like Jamar Chase is, I feel like part of me is like I should be taking him as like the third overall pick ahead of Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, everybody else. For a while he was going as like the 7th pick, and I thought that was crazy. Now I feel like he's come up, and now he goes after McCaffrey, he goes after CeeDee Lamb, after Tyreek Hill. I think he is the 104 at this point. Would you ever consider taking Jamar Chase with like a 101, 102? Because the same thing that applies to Burrow applies to Jamar Chase. Like they were both unhealthy at some point last year, Burrow and Chase. Now I'm like, well, he was going as a 102 last year. Like everybody loved him. Feels to me like he is in what could be an elite offense, still an elite player. So I don't know. Are you opposed to taking Jamar Chase at like the 102?
So like I said, I think they're moving him to the slot. And if that's right, like he is just going to break leagues. Like look at his numbers, like go to fantasy points data, check out what he did in the slot last year. It was like 3rd in targets per route run. He was 2nd in yards, like that. And he talked to Matt Harmon about this. He was interviewed by Matt Harmon, Yahoo Sports. And he was like, yeah, I would love to be in the slot. I just feel like they don't trust me there yet. But like the move to add Burton and kind of the vibes I got from the presser, like I think that's what they're going to do. And I think that's what you should do with like a player like him. Just get him the mismatches, move him all around, but maybe 40%, like the plurality of routes from the slot. But here's how I'd have it. I have it Christian McCaffrey 101, Tyreek 102, 103 Brees Hall, and then 104 I just shit my pants because like it's like Jefferson was even more productive with those shitty backups last year than he was with Kirk Cousins. He's just such a beast. CeeDee Lamb broke leagues. He's awesome. Jamar Chase, like I said, and then even Amon-Ra St. Brown, so steady. And so it gets tough, but probably McCaffrey, Tyreek, Brees, Lamb, Chase, Jefferson. But it's really tough.
The fun thing about you not doing a lot of best ball drafts is that you don't even know when you're given a hot take. Like Brees Hall 103 is like, that's a pretty hot take for people who have been doing a lot of drafts. Like he goes at like the 107, 108. I think 108 is where Brees Hall goes in drafts. So to have him as your 103, that's a take there.
I mean, I don't see why. The guy was coming off of an ACL injury. He ranked 29th, no, 37th in like weighted opportunity points per game heading into week 12. He finished the year as, in spite of all this, he finished the year as the fantasy RB2 with Zach Wilson. The Jets ranked dead last in red zone rushes. The offense couldn't get first downs to save their life. Now you add in Aaron Rodgers, who won MVP in back-to-back years. He was healthy. With the same,
he wasn't as. You think he's going to be as good this year? Like I thought his last year he was not nearly as efficient.
Well, so he played with a broken thumb all of 2022, and then he played. He had 2 pass attempts last year, or 2 dropbacks. Which shout out to my mom when the Jets signed Aaron Rodgers. My mom texted my stepdad, "Watch, he's going to get hurt on the second play of the year."
No way.
It was something like that. Yeah. Which like just typical Jets. Yeah. So I like Aaron Rodgers, but like, Brees Hall, like no matter what, the Jets ranked second worst in percentage of plays spent trailing. Their record was better than that, but like they exclusively negative game script, no red zone opportunities. And so like the jump from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers is worth like 10 fantasy points per game. And then he's also healthier. Insanely rare elite usage over his last 7 games, 7.5 targets per game, 15.
We're almost on the clock. So before we get there,
Roman Wilson, I would click him and then we'll dive into it.
All right, let's see if I was just about to ask you about Roman Wilson. How your thoughts?
Oh, Luke Musgrave is really good. Do we have 2 tight ends? I don't remember.
We do have 2 tight ends. We have Ferguson and Schultz going with those Dallas.
But yeah, the other Green Bay tight end is already hurt, so I like him.
Is he really? Tyler Kraft?
Yeah.
Let's go Roman Wilson, and then we can.
Can we just click on what? Okay.
Yeah, so we're at 2 quarterbacks. We're probably done at quarterback. We could be done at tight end with Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz. We do have 6 wide receivers already and 3 running backs. So running back is probably is a position of need, but we don't need to do it right now. If you don't like any of these running backs in this range, we could go Luke McCaffrey if you want to reach a little. He's probably not making it back to us.
Corley's there again. Click on running back and then click on wide receiver.
Running back, Ray Davis, Kamani Vidal, Gibson, McLaughlin, J.K. Dobbins.
I like Tyron Tracy later. Wide receiver,
Troy Franklin, Adam Thielen, Malachi Corley, Marvin Mims.
We could do Thielen. We could do Corley.
Let's go Corley. I can't get myself to do Thielen.
Corley is going to be like Wan'Dale Robinson, I think.
Yeah. Who was it? Oh, so here was one of your rookie reviews that really like got me excited about a player that I have not drafted at all, and that was Malik Washington. Like the fact that like not McCarthy,
McDaniel.
McDaniel. Yeah, was like you really made a really strong case for Malik Washington as one of your guys, and I like really bought in. This is my first draft since finishing that podcast that you did. Are you like? He's an 18th round pick. Is he a guy that you would click a lot of in the 18th round?
No, because they signed OBJ, right?
Oh, okay. That was since.
But like yeah. I was so amped because this is a player I loved. Like to me, Malachi Corley just looked like a poor man's version of him.
That's why I thought. And then you said that
McDaniel was like losing his mind. He was like, "You're gonna play right away. We're so excited." And then they signed. I mean, I think OBJ is super dusty, but it's like the hope for that that role. And I mean, like Tyreek's going to get his and Waddle's going to get his. Just to go back, Tucker Kraft has a pectoral injury. Hopefully he's back by training camp. So Musgrave was drafted earlier, did well, and then got hurt, and then Tucker Kraft. And so like, I think it's his job to lose now. And I think he's a great pick at cost. Jewish McCaffrey poked a hole in the Breece Hall thing. For roster construction with the current ADP landscape, it's just tougher to build with a running back in the first round. Can't move Breece or Bijan into the top 5. I don't really know what he means by that. So I want to hear you say it. But to me, it was just like the most valuable asset is like the Uber bell cow Christian McCaffrey, basically. And to me, it's like Christian McCaffrey, teardrop, Breece Hall, teardrop, everyone else. Because like, again, 7.5 plus targets per game, 15 plus carries per game over his last 7 games. Like that's usage we've only ever seen like 7 other times ever from a running back in a single season. So like super valuable, love the talent. And like that is just, and in a half point PPR as well, just so immensely valuable. But like, explain this counter argument to me.
Yeah. So he's saying in the way that ADP goes in best ball right now, like, especially right now, because it's all people who are pretty like-minded drafting. So it's like, sometimes you want to go against the current. So right now it's a lot of people who
that's where all the money is, Neil.
Is going against. I know. But agreed. And like I've tried doing it. I do it sometimes. I like to mix up my constructions. But so we have a lot of piss boys right now, meaning people who like to just draft a lot of wide receivers early, who like to go 0 RB. So right now it kind of leads you to, if you forego wide receivers, if you don't have, I think Hayden Winks has the number of like you need to have 4 wide receivers through 7 rounds. If you don't, wide receiver drops off so immensely right at a time, like in rounds like 6, like end of round 6 or so, is when a lot of running backs who were like potential RB1s, there's like a string of like 20 of them like in a row in those rounds. So it's like you're sort of forced to be drafting wide receivers at a time when all of the good wide receivers, where there's a huge drop off in wide receiver talent, and there's a ton of like, this guy might be an RB1, like a lot of like running backs that you want to draft at the same time, like a Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, they both go around there. You get your Javonte Williams, Zamir White, Zach Moss, like just like a whole string of like these running backs. Aaron Jones is like kind of the start of that tier. So it's like oh shit, we are on the clock, I think. All right, let's see. I think we need a running back. So let's go Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, Damian Pierce, Deontay Foreman.
You pick.
I clicked it for just to make sure that we get a running back there.
I like Khalil Herbert. He's talented. I know that. I just don't think the volume is going to be there, but who knows?
Yeah.
New regime as well, but or new offensive coordinator at least.
Let's see if there's any other like great. I don't see any other great values here. We could. I don't think we need Will Levis though, because we already have 2 really
I don't think we
do.
No, yeah.
We could add on another tight end if we wanted to, but
Demario Douglas.
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh, DeMarcus Robinson. Fuck it. Let's get all 3 Rams wide receivers. No Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Chris really likes DeMarcus Robinson, so that's encouraging.
I'm pretty high on DeMarcus Robinson for best ball.
So my whole thing on this is like, it pays. You want to zig when others are zag. You want to finish first out of 700K lineup. Like, it's really hard to do. It's so difficult. And so that's where the edge is, right? And in the past, you could really get away with taking a quantity over a quality approach at the wide receiver position. The counter argument is Billy Jones. You are very rarely going to run across a wide receiver value in a draft, but they're a running back. And that's exactly how I see it. Like, looking at this, unfortunately, that's exactly how. And so like, you have to move to where the game is, like where the value is, right? And unfortunately, that's where it is. So yeah, I think that's a good counter argument to Breece as high as, again, this is my 3rd best ball draft, but in a start sit league, for sure, I'm taking Breece Hall top 3.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense for a start sit league, or if you were doing best ball like with a different type of player. Like if you weren't playing against all these piss pros who just take all the wide receivers early, then you could maybe take Brees Hall 1 or 3. It's just, yeah, he is, it definitely, like, it gets ugly. I do the hero RB thing sometimes. I think you can pull it off. If you just take Brees and then hit wide receiver for several rounds, like, you can certainly make it work. It's just, yeah, it gets tough if you just take your favorite player at every pick early on. Then you run into construction issues later when it's like, oh, great, now I have to draft Michael Wilson, or, like, I don't know, it gets pretty ugly pretty late. Yeah. But I mean, with that said, like, he's still a first round pick. Like, everybody's still taking him in the first round. Right. So I don't see you could certainly take him to 103.
You guys might have sold me. So CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, that's fine. Yeah. But then I'm still going to take him over AR St. Brown. And then there's a huge tier drop from after St. Brown. Not as high on Bijan.
You're not high on Bijan? That's interesting. So I've had Bijan.
I mean, he's just not close to Brees. He's a great pick, but
even
I mean, he's my RB3. It's just,
are you out on the Atlanta offense in general? Like, it sounds like
they're gonna smash.
All right.
Bijan's my easy RB3. It's just,
okay.
Brees Hall might be McCaffrey this year.
All right.
I mean, Bijan could do that too, but
yeah.
And then who's after Bijan? Gibbs, who's going to lose the touchdowns to David Montgomery in a 0.5-point PPR. I don't love that.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, and that's so that's the counter argument. It's like, all right, so you're like, oh, wide receiver dies so quick. Okay, but Uber bell cow, there's only 3, right?
Right. Yeah, and people are like drafting, so it goes, as you said, Gibbs would be the 4th, and then it's like Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, somebody else there. It's like a bunch of running backs. So I'm like, yeah, I'm out on this, like, class of running backs. I'm usually just reaching for a Brandon Ayuk or like some other wide receiver there. It's really like the early second round does not feel good to me. Yeah, I'm usually, that's where, as I said, I'm usually taking Drake London there. Oh, Jonathan Taylor is in that tier. So we've taken Jonathan Taylor in both of these. It sounds like he would be your
RB4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to their point, all the values at running back. Pacheco, RB12, Aaron Jones, RB18, Stevenson, RB20, Brooks, RB25, Raheem Mostert, RB28.
Bigsby, Estime, CEH, Will Shipley. Man, it got ugly at running back. So
no, I like Estime a lot. Peyton hates Javonte, dude. And I loved, dude, Denver's analytics department just like drafts off of my rankings. They take all my guys.
So that's why you say Sean Payton is smart. He's just taking your guys.
Well, they do have a sick, I think they might spend more money on analytics than any other team.
Oh, really? Interesting. All right. So we have one pick coming up here, our final pick. We have 2 quarterbacks, CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott. I think we're good there. Running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Gus Edwards, Rico Dowdle, Khalil Herbert, Audric Estime. At wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley, Rashid Shaheed, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, DeMarcus Robinson. And at tight end, we have Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz. I feel like we probably don't need a quarterback. Otherwise, we could kind of go any direction we want. My lean is running back, but I don't love the running backs available here. So we can see what's available.
Yeah. So then all that matters is where the value is. To me, I'm seeing one wide receiver really jump off the page.
Jalen McMillan.
Kadarius Toney.
Oh,
no, McMillan. Take McMillan.
He sounded pretty good in your
No, exactly. Podcast. So that was a player I was really high on. Great fit. They were just as high on him as I was. It's a new OC, so maybe they play more 11 personnel. The name's escaping me, but their slot wide receiver, he was always Palmer. Like, yeah, there you go. He was like always kind of in play because he was 3K on DraftKings and had like a high route share, and he would get some deep targets. He just sucked and did nothing. And so I'm kind of bullish on him. They would need to kick Godwin out to the perimeter a bit more, but he was already at like 65% last year, which was unique for him.
Right.
I like this team.
I like this team.
We're getting
significantly better than the last one. Yeah. I believe in our ability to draft good best ball teams. Believe it or not, I think that you and I are going to be drafting some good best ball teams throughout the summer.
What did we say from outside if we don't win at least 1 milli, like we're going to beat ourselves. We set our goal
for this year at 3 millis in DFS.
3 millis on stream.
It's going to be tougher to do in best ball, I think. But
so we're going to let's win 2 best ball manias this year on
Two Best Ball
stream
Manias.
and 3 millies.
Considering there is only one Best Ball Mania, you're like really setting us up for
No,
failure here.
you finished first and second.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I'll go for that.
Somehow, even though there's like minimal, Tank Dell, I guess, is going to be the scored 10,000 fantasy points,
It
and
was
no one
Tank
else
Dell
is
and
going to have
Jonathan
him.
Taylor. Those two.
Yeah,
Like we were just
there you
going
go.
off. Yeah. Got both of those. Are those our only repeats? Let's see.
Oh,
Khalil
Derrick
Herbert, did
Henry,
we-
another good value, I think. Oh no, he's in that Kyron A chain. They're all well priced.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's the top of the board. It goes, so this is like by ADP here. McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Bisal. I think this is the chalk start here for those 8. And then Garrett Wilson goes a little bit early, but yeah, those top 8.
I can't take any fault in that. I would just flip Brees and Bijan, probably flip Puka and AJ.
Yep. Okay. Looked like Mr. Mister got your guy Brees Hall at the 108. So you got to feel good about that. Yeah, Garrett
5 spots of value.
5 spots of value, exactly. But yeah, I think that team worked out much better for us. I just read it off, but I'll do it one more time. So we got quarterback CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott, great elite quarterbacks. At running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Gus Edwards, Rico Dowdle, Khalil Herbert, Audric Estime. At wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley, Rashid Shaheed, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, Demarcus Robinson, Jalen McMillan, and at tight end, Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz. So yeah, pretty unique to get all 3 of the Rams receivers without the quarterback. I feel bad for whoever. Let's see who took Matthew Stafford. Did they? Okay, Bingus got Matthew Stafford, no stack, I think, right? Because we have all the viable receivers, and he didn't take. Oh, he also has 4 quarterbacks. So maybe got saved by the limitations on drafting more than 4 quarterbacks. Bingus may have been saved by it. That is a team. So I feel like he gave us he bought the rake for us, I think, with that team.
Nice. Do you round 18 try and draft players who are just never being drafted?
Yeah, I sometimes it's not like I'm not doing it that much yet. And I agree with, I think Pete Overzet has made the point that like, that is something to focus on more like in August, because like right now you're taking those guys, who knows if they're going to become the chalk later on. So it's I'm mostly just taking guys that I think have major upside in the late round or fill a position of need. If I already think I have upside at a position, but don't have a floor, maybe I'll take a player that I think could, like if Demarcus Robinson sometimes is like I feel like he brings up my floor a little bit. I don't know if that's true. So yeah, kind of. So not really yet, but I think that's a sharp thing that people do. I haven't found the players that I want that are going undrafted that late at this point.
Kadarius Toney, baby.
Kadarius Toney might be the answer. My guess is that he is drafted in 10% of leagues. Like I don't think he would go completely undrafted at this point. Yeah, but I definitely don't have a share yet. so maybe I need to add him to my portfolio.
You need one, Neil.
Do I need one Justin Ross share in my portfolio?
You need one. Yeah, 1%. Like you're making 150 lineups, right? You can get a 1% or less.
That's fair.
One of those guys.
Would you does it need to be Kadarius Toney over Justin Ross though? Like if you're like, do we need to do that with all of the Chiefs receivers, or is it just Kadarius Toney in your mind?
Well, just Toney and Ross.
Okay, just those.
Those are my guys. Like I said, when I'm drafting early September, I'm gonna have I don't know, 5 to 10% probably.
All right, that's. I'll do a share here or there. I'll probably do it when I have a Kansas City or Pittsburgh stack, like do it as a bring back, do it as part of my primary stack. I'd be more inclined to do it there than just like as a one-off. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll try the Kadarius Toney thing. Yeah, A-Red says yes, Toney over Ross. Yeah, I think probably at this point the Ross thing probably just not going to happen.
Dude, he's already making some sick catches in training camp. And
is he really?
At least one beat writer like wrote a great puff piece on him. So
nice.
I'll have that at least.
Love it. Scott, are you working on any new articles, VODs, anything like that coming out soon?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm traveling for the wedding in a few
Oh, I
days.
forgot
But
that you're traveling. Oh, you're traveling in a few days, like
yeah,
for
we're
until
gonna check
after
out
the
the
wedding.
venue and
Okay, okay,
do some stuff with family. But yeah, and then I'll come back, and then I think I'm gonna do finally start diving into player values. I'll do like a series on the top underdog values, the top FFPC values. So far, I've kind of just my rookie articles, like in combination by word count, was over half the length of the Catcher in the Rye. That just took so much time. And then the press conference series and the strength of schedule. And now finally, it's kind of just looking at ADP, finding the values, making the arguments, consulting with Chris as it pertains to the projections.
nice,
And that's fun. So that's what's coming next for me. I'm excited about that.
nice. Lot of good stuff as always. Season coming up quicker than we expected, of course, as Scott alluded to.
Always.
Scott is getting married in a couple months, and he was just telling me before the show that he wants every married person in the audience to send him a DM with some wisdom, some marital wisdom for him. Scott was begging for that, just a bunch of DMs with no, he was not saying that. No, you should send Scott all of your marital wisdom. I'm sure he will listen.
I asked, so I've done a few best man speeches. I asked for my cousin's wedding. I asked our grandmother, because she was married for 60 years to my grandfather, believe it or not. I asked for some advice, and her advice was the number one thing she said was never go to bed angry. And so I included that in my speech, and I've taken it to heart.
I think that my grandparents may have had the exact same thing.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember if it was them.
How long were they married for?
They were married. They got married when my grandma was like 19, and until she died when she was 80 something, 88 maybe. I don't know. I don't know exactly how long. Very, very long time. Yeah, my grandpa gave a lot of advice like that. That was like, no, it was happy wife, happy life was one of the things he said. Like he had all these things, and it was like he was not he did not live what he said necessarily. He was definitely a I don't know, naysayer. I don't know how would you describe him exactly, but it was good advice, I think. So yeah, I would stick to that advice. All right, Scott, this was a lot of fun. We should do this again soon.
Anytime.
I love that you say that, and I keep thinking like Scott's too busy. Obviously, I'm not going to ask Scott. Like he's got his wedding coming up, and Scott just is like, whatever, we can do best ball dress. Let's do it. So, let's do it again.
This is fun. I enjoyed it. Every time we do a show, I feel like 30 minutes went past by, and it's been 2 hours.
I know, like time flies. Which I think some of our outside the box streams did go like at least over 2 hours. I don't think we ever got to the 3 hour mark, but we always went a little bit longer than we planned on doing it. So. Yeah, it's always a good time. Hopefully we'll be doing that again in the fall, but yeah, we should do this again. I don't know, 3 weeks. Let's shoot for doing another one of these streams, get a couple more best ball streams, best ball drafts out of the way. Cause yeah, I was like getting your insights. Go check out Scott. He is on Twitter at Scott Barrett DFB. Of course, sign up for Fantasy Points. You can use the promo code Flannel to get 15% off. And that,
yeah, let me make a pitch here.
Yeah,
FantasyPoints.com is the place to be. Far and away best fantasy site in the game. We have the best data, Fantasy Points data, better than anyone else is offering. You can exponentially more data than anyone else because it's all filterable, splittable tools that we've come up with. We're actually adding something hopefully next month, which like I legitimately think is going to break the internet. I think it's the sickest thing ever. I've been wanting this for 7 years, and I think we're going to do it, and no one else does it. That's really exciting. Like I said, Chris is on projections now. I really think we're going to take down Derek Hardy, who has the best weekly projections in the game. And we're going to take him down this year. Best advice, analysis, really fun Discord. We have, if you're into UFL, we have the UFL GOAT in Jake Tribby. If you're into college football, we had the best college football projections last year. Shout out Josh Chevalier. So best college football product. We're adding an optimizer to that, just like we did with UFL and NFL. We got Graham killing it on the best ball side, high stakes, redraft, dynasty, whatever you want. FantasyPoints.com.
FantasyPoints.com. 15% off any package using promo code Flannel. And I was just going to say, just go sign up for whatever package you want. You get access to the Discord. Go hang out with it. It's a great team, as Scott just laid out all the not even all, but a lot of the different people at Fantasy Points. Just a great team. Go hang out in the Fantasy Points Discord. A lot of great wisdom shared there all the time, on top of all the great content. And of course, the data suite, which we have alluded to a couple times. This is the data suite right here. You can't really see much here, but it is fantastic. Really, really great tool. So go check out Fantasy Points if you have not already done so. Go find Scott. Go find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. Like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. I am trying to grow it, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. Trying to grow the channel. Really appreciate anybody subscribe and hit that notification button if you want to get alerts when my shows go live. But yeah, thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out, Scott, and we'll catch you next time.